Chapter 34:03 Time Figh Moment God stepped forward. It was like time was floating behind her. It became a river of time light. And it roared at Han Sr., Moment God. Do you not remember that this is time sky? I am afraid your time powers will not be as effective here. Han Sen used the sky clock. The sky clock's needles moved. Time sky's many stone clocks were moved because of the sky clock's power. Moment God's time river was affected by many different time areas. She immediately lost her advantage. Before she reached Han Sen, the time river scattered. It did not pose a threat to Han's senator. It was all thanks to the sky clock he was wielding against her. Time powers are not as simple as you might think. Moment God's face did not change. She pulled a hairpin out of her hair. The hairpin was like a needle. Moment God clutched it as if she was gripping the hilt of a dagger. Moment God followed the needle. Wherever the needle went, it made the sky clock spin differently. There was a great variety to the speeds. It went wild until it came to a complete stop. It was like time had just frozen. Moment God is very powerful. She is clearly different from how she was before. Han Sen saw Moment God approach. All of the stone clocks ceased their spinning. Not even the sky clock could make the stone clocks move again. Moment God walked to the sky clock's proximity and stopped. The needle in her hand was on the edge of the sky clock. If Moment God stepped forward, the sky clock's time would touch it. They are both time powers. Which is stronger, Moment God or the sky clock? In the 17th sky, Qin Xiu looked at the Geno tablet with profound interest. The sky clock should be stronger, said Sky King, who was right next to him. After all, that is time sky. The sky clock has the support of time sky's laws. No matter how strong Moment God is, she cannot break the rules that govern time sky. He was a spirit in the 33rd sky. He should have been the leader of the 33rd sky, but the Geno tablet's existence took the 33rd sky. Sky King did not become the leader of any other sky. He just followed Qin Xiu around like a handmaiden. Time sky's power is a dead power, Qin Xiu coldly said. Moment God commands a power that is alive. Therein lies the pickle, you see. A dead rule might not be able to stop a living God. Are you saying that Moment God might have a way to break the suppression of the rules that govern time sky? Sky King asked with visible shock. That isn't what I said, but you seem to get the gist of it, Qin Xiu said. Yes, they are both using time elements. Ichi's break world rate had almost reached 100. In their fight before, Ichi lost to Moment God. This Moment God is not a simple enemy to tackle. If she is able to reach the legendary 100% break world rate, destroying the restrictions of the rules that govern time sky should not be too difficult to do, but God spirits don't exactly use break world powers. What can she do to break time sky's rule suppression? Sky King still did not believe Moment God could break the rules that govern the suppression of time sky. Well, I wholeheartedly suggest you shut your mouth and keep watching, Qin Xiu coldly said. I am sure we will find out in due time, so stop hassling me with long speeches and nonsensical questions. It was not just Qin Xiu feeling this way either. The god spirits in the Geno Hall were watching this fight too. They were eager to find out whose time powers would prove stronger. If the Geno tablet could control the universe, Time Sky's leader would be the future god of time. Moment God was currently the god of time. This fight was between the future and present gods of time. It was like two factions were having a showdown. Of course, while Han Sen was the leader of Time Sky, he did not possess any actual time elements in his body. He was not a genuine god of time. Moment God did not hesitate. The needle went to the sky clock's time area. B. The needle entered the area. Two powers collided. It resulted in the creation of a scary time storm. The whole area of time was twisted. Sometimes things went forward, and sometimes things went in reverse. Han Sen was just a part of the audience watching this unfold. He did not join the combat between Sky Clock and Moment God. First, it was because his body had a problem. He could not fight unless he was provoked by the outside. Second, he wanted to see which of the two was stronger. Was it going to be the Sky Clock or Moment God? The Geno tablet remained in the Sky Clock, but it did not do anything. It was unknown whether or not it thought it was worth fighting Moment God or not. It just watched and did not participate. The Sky Clock's needle reversed. The needle in Moment God's hand followed her fingers. It spun clockwise. Two powers were going in forward and reverse. Nothing could stop what was going on. The whole area was stopped in time. There was an absolute balance of stillness. Moment God, I still have not been struck. Are your powers really this lame? Hansen squinted his eyes as he looked at Moment God. Moment God did not move. She maintained the position of her needle, continuing to fight against the sky clock and its power. Everyone thought this fight was going to last forever. Suddenly, Moment God's needle started to spin in reverse. The main and reverse powers of time cancelled each other out. Now Moment God was able to reverse time too. The whole area became a scary counterclockwise place. In just a moment, all of time went back 10 million years. Hansen was in the reverse time. He said to Moment God, "That is putting in a good effort, but it is a shame your effort is wasted. I am the leader of Time Sky. Time here cannot take away my youth or alter my lifespan." "That is impossible," Moment God said with a frown. "Even if you were the leader of Time Sky, it does not mean you should not be hurt by time power. The truth is right in front of you. You can refuse to believe it, but you cannot deny cold, hard facts." Hansen laughed. He did not plan on leaving the reversal of time zone. That scary reverse power could not do anything to him. If this was another creature, even a top-class time element break world beast that had become the leader of Time Sky, it would not feel absolutely nothing in the reversal of time. Hansen was only like this because his body was weird. He was not affected by time power, so he might as well beat down Moment God's confidence. It was a shame Moment God's confidence was not easily subdued. She did not stop there. She spun the needle even faster to make the reversal of time go even faster and scarier. "You are not affected because the reversal of time is not fast enough," Moment God said while coldly looking at Han Sr. "If that is what you choose to believe, then fine. Allow me to help you." Hansen's will moved. He hurried the sky clock to make the sky clock go in full reverse. The sky clocks and Moment God's time powers went in reverse. The whole area of time was unbelievably reversed. One moment became a billion years. Chapter 34:04 Power of a Main God. Moment God and Hansen stood in the reverse of time. A scary river of time went through her body, but it did not touch her god body once. Moment God looked at Hansen coldly as she said, "You are the leader of Time Sky, but you do not wield time element powers. My body can resist damage from the powers of time. In a fight like this, you have no choice but to submit to defeat." "Perhaps not." Hansen coldly dropped his two words, and did not elaborate. Moment God's needle and the needle of the sky clock were madly spinning in reverse. The reversal of time was becoming scarier and scarier. If an ordinary break world beast were there, beyond being turned back into an egg, they would probably be taken back to a time before their mother was even born and disappear into space. "This is a pure time power fight," an elite watching the fight said. "It is a real god fight. I wonder which one of them has the supreme command of time. I suppose we will receive the answer when the fight is over." At the same time, Human King, who had become the leader of the 25th Sky, watched the fight. All of the Blood Legion members were taken to the 25th Sky. A Blood Legion member saw the two of them standing in the flow of reverse time. It was unclear which one of them had an advantage, so he said, "Leader, look at Hansen and Moment God. Which would you say has the superior command of time power?" Human King's eyes were like water, but they looked really shiny as he said, "It is too early to tell which of the two is winning or losing. They have not truly tried to show off the full breadth of their powers yet. They are already such scary time powers. Is that not all of their power? Are they still hiding some of their powers?" The members looked at Hansen and Moment God in disbelief. "I do not know what kind of power Hansen is hiding, but Moment God has yet to use her subgod power," Human King said. "She has not tried her best yet. The two of them are scary. Is this going to trouble our plan?" An old member looked worried. "Powerful power might not be our resistance. Perhaps it will end up being our help." Human King was not worried. In fact, he actually smiled. The group of Blood Legion members and students were all looking at one another. They knew Human King was confident about being able to control the Geno tablet, but their opponents were very strong. They thought they would suffer great trouble. They could not think how something like this would end up helping them. If Human King was not speaking, the members could not ask anything. Therefore, all they could do was watch. The speed of time's reversal was becoming faster and faster. The sky clock's 3 needles were almost gone. Moment God's needle was spinning too. In the reversal of time, neither of them was moving. They just looked at each other from afar, weathering the corrosion of time. Moment God's time God body is not as strong as Han Sen's body and its reversal power, Berry Path God said with shock. He was currently in Dust Sky. What makes you say that? An elder of the God Chaos Party asked with some moderate confusion. From what he saw, the powers of Moment God and Han Sen should have been even. Neither of the two had displayed any flaws in their performances. Look at Moment God's God clothing, Berry Path God said. After Berry Path God said that, all the members of the God Chaos Party looked at Moment God and her God clothing. The God clothes were dreamy. It was like they were perfect. The God clothing looked very holy. It released a shiny God light. Most elders were not able to discern any problems with it. Berry Path God, is there a problem with the God clothing? A God Chaos Party member asked. Forgive me for being so dumb, but I do not see an issue with the God clothing. The other God Chaos Party members did not ask anything, but they still looked at Berry Path God with confusion. Clearly, they did not see the problem with the clothes either. Do you not see it? Berry Path God coldly asked. The God clothes are newer than before. Newer. The people went for a closer look, but they did not see any difference. Seeing that they did not spot the issue, Berry Path God said, if you guys have a proper look at Moment God's God clothes, you should see her God clothes are cleaner. That proves there is a problem. The time reversal is working on her clothes. Look at Han Senator, his clothes have not had any changes. If Moment God does not have any other powers, this is a fight Han Sen is sure to win. The other God Chaos Party members did not think there was an issue with newer or older clothes, but if Berry Path God had said there was, they did not think he was incorrect. Then, according to the Vice President's opinion, is Han Sen going to be the victor in this fight? Someone asked. Perhaps not. They still haven't used their true powers yet. It is too soon to determine which of the two will be a victor. Berry Path God squinted his eyes and said to himself, there should be time. Berry Path God had only just said this when Moment God's eyes looked frozen. Her God light blew up and exploded into the sky like a light shadow rising up from her body. It was a giant shadow that looked like a dragon. It was just a shadow. It was not solid. Even so, it made people feel very afraid of it. One of its eyes was like a sun, whereas the other was eerily reminiscent of a moon. The sun and the moon looked like wheels as they spun. Time was flying. When the sun and moon dragon revealed itself, Moment God's time power became even scarier. The needle, which had already reached a maximum speed, moved even faster. This is an Annihilation class Wild Sun Moon God Dragon. It is the same as Moment God in that it wields a time element. With the buffing of the Sun Moon God Dragon, Moment God's time power will be stronger. That is the benefit of being a main god. King Qin was very worried. He did not know if Han Sen, who ruled the God of Wealth Temple, could fight Moment God, who was a main god. Han Sen did not bother summoning a sub-god for a boon. Moment God's body wielded an even scarier shadow. Another sub-god buffing power landed. It was a jade cicada. It screamed. One of its wings displayed an old word that read spring, and the other wing had a word that meant autumn. It is a spring-autumn cicada. It is another time element wild god. Many of the elites watching the fight were in shock, but this was not the end. Moment God kept flashing with scary lights. Many light shadows appeared. They were all powerful time wild gods. There were 10 of them. Each of the god shadows was as strong as the Sun Moon God Dragon. As the 10 sub-gods' powerful powers buffed Moment God, it made her power stronger. It made the time power scarier. The needle was spinning fast. It was moving faster than the sky clock. It became a main reverse power. Buzz. The reversal of time suddenly went forward. Everything in the reverse time went back to normal, including the stone clocks. Time Sky's stone clocks were shaking because of the reverse power. All of the stone clock powers were being reversed. Chapter 3405 Women That Don't Listen. Moment God is very powerful. Berry Path God said with visible shock. She used her own power to shake all of Time Sky. If she joined the Time Sky leader fight in the beginning, perhaps Han Sen would have never become the Time Sky leader in the first place. That is not her power alone, a God Chaos Party elder said. She borrowed the powers of her sub-god. The sub-gods still belong to her, making their power a part of hers, Berry Path God said. He briefly paused and said, such time power. Han Sen is not a time element. Time Sky will not do much to affect him, but I do not think he can block this reversal of time. It was not just Berry Path God that thought of things this way. Upon seeing all of this, Big Sky Demon frowned and said, Moment God is stronger than before. She is stronger than when she was rebooted. Against the rules of Time Sky, she alone is supreme. She is taking control of the rules of Time Sky for herself. It is no wonder why she is the main god of time powers. Can this little guy Han Sen handle her? Even the Geno Hall's God Hall leader nodded. He said, Moment God has already surpassed herself. She has achieved a new zenith. She has never been this strong before. Now in this universe, no one else has a time power that is greater than hers. In Time Sky, many stone clocks were reversing together. It became a powerful vat of reversing time that pushed Han Sen's location and time to reverse at an even quicker speed. It was like one moment was forever. Moment God looked at Han Sen and coldly said, in a pool of reverse time like that, a moment means nothing. If you do not want to be reduced into nothing, you can concede now. Han Sen was not planning on stepping down. He smiled at Moment God and said, time and I are like clouds. Although there is an endless past, I am still me. No other power can change that. Moment God stopped speaking. The needle in her hand started to spin. The whole of Time Sky was like it had been affected by the needle. The needles on all of the stone clocks were madly spinning. The whole of Time Sky was working together to create a giant reversal of time force. Time Sky started to tremble because of time being reversed so much. Many stone clocks were starting to disappear in the zone of time reversal. Even the stone clocks that had time power could not withstand that scary reversing time power. In Space Garden, many humans, spirits, and creatures were watching Han Sen with profuse worry. Linger was buried in Ji Yanran's bosom. She looked worried as she asked, is Dad going to be okay up there? Yes. No one can defeat your father, Ji Yanran told Linger with certainty. Even though things seemed dangerous for Han Sen, she was not worried. She felt much safer about how things were going to turn out. Although she told Linger that, Ji Yanran was feeling a bit confused. She found herself intensely staring at Han. Senator Moment God looked at Han Sen coldly. She wanted to see Han Sen turn into an egg with that time reversal power, but her eyes were starting to turn from beads of certainty to marbles of confusion. Her gaze was turning from confusion to one filled with shock. As time went by, Han Sen continued to stand where he was. It was like nothing was affecting him. By now 7 minutes had gone by. Still, nothing was changing Han Sen's body. Not even his armor was dissolving. Moment God was not the same. Her clothes were becoming brighter. It seemed very powerful in the eyes of other people. But Moment God knew it was because her power was not sufficient enough to withstand the reversal of time. Her god clothes were affected by the reversal of time. They were going back in time ever so slowly. How is that possible? How can his body withstand so much time reversal power without being affected in the least? Nothing is happening to him. Does this mean he is like the God Hall leader? Has he reached that step? Moment God was shocked. She looked at Han Sen weirdly. It was as if she wished to learn something more from Han Sen's face. Impossible. How can that step be so easily obtained? Plus, his soul genes are not as strong as Qin Xiu's. In just one life, can he make this step? This should be impossible. Moment God had to try and deny her thoughts. She gnashed her teeth. Moment God started to look sharp. It looked as if she had come to a decision. Her other hand touched the needle. Her hands folded together to put the needle in the center between them. Old reverse, turn back to 0. As Moment God coldly shouted, her hands started to spin in a different direction. The time needle exploded with a scary time god light that shone across the whole of Time Sky, and made it all brighter. Boom. Moment God's long hair went straight. It was like it was going from black to white. It was like she was growing old in one sole moment. In that scary time power, the time clock was affected as well. The 3 needles stopped spinning. It was like they were frozen. They all stopped at the peak of their spins. They all came to a stop at 12 o'clock. Its time power's strongest power returned to 0. I cannot believe Moment God is that strong. If she becomes my 33 skies time god, I firmly believe she will be worthy. Qin Xiu looked at Moment God with nothing but sheer shock. Clearly, Moment God's performance had surprised the man. Even Qin Xiu was surprised by what he was witnessing. Moment God's face started to look older. Her long hair turned gray. It was even turning white. She kept staring at Han Senator. Her eyes looked more and more shocked. She tried her best to cast her god skills that had her strongest time power return to 0. Despite her effort, she was still unable to affect Han Sen's body. Now it was not only Moment God who was in shock. All the elites in the universe were in total shock. From the beginning to the end, Han Sen had not cast a single skill or power. All he ever used was the sky clock to block whatever powerful power Moment God sought to smite him with. It was extremely hard to believe. Is the power of the sky clock truly that powerful? Sky King could not believe his eyes as he peered at the sky clock. Qin Xiu coldly said, "It is not the sky clock that is strong. It is that person who is too strong." Clearly he knew what he was witnessing was not the sky clock and its power. Han Sen, who had not been doing anything the whole time, finally moved. When the time started reversing, Han Sen approached Moment God. The reversal of time was like a mad wave. To him, it was like the soft spray of gentle spring. It could do nothing to halt his advance. Moment God felt as if she had been wronged. She had tried her best to use her god-based power and explode with the time skill returned to 0. One could see the impact of time coming out. When it touched down on Han Sen's body, it was like a wave of water coming to an end. Han Sen stepped closer. He went all the way over to Moment God's position. What a woman! A woman that doesn't listen. Typical. After Han Sen said that, he reached out his hand. He grabbed Moment God's hand, which was clutching the needle. He used a little bit of strength and completely pulled Moment God away from the needle. Chapter 3406 Dead Cycle. That cannot be broken. Moment God was pulled away by Han Senator. Her body lost tension and fell toward him. Han Sen stood to the side. He used his hands to take Moment God's time needle away from her. Moment God's body flew away. She hit a stone clock. The stone clock broke. A scary amount of time had been reversed, but that came to an end now that Moment God had been tossed away. The whole of the time sky was calm again. The 2 universes went silent. All of the creatures were shocked. Moment God was the base of time sky and able to reverse time. Yet Han Sen had easily been able to steal her weapon. Through doing that, she was sent soaring through the air. It was like a child being destroyed. It was hard to imagine. Everyone's mouth stayed open. The Geno tablets and Time Sky's lights had already faded. The videos of the Geno tablet were gone. The leader fights were over. Many elites were very shocked. They did not calm down after the video stream ended. The powers they had witnessed were too shocking. The images were seared into their minds. No one was able to forget them. Sky King's face still looked shocked. He asked Qin Xiu, "Mr. Leader, did Han Sen really ascend to that step?" Qin Xiu remained silent. After a while he shook his head. He does not have that feature just yet. I believe that his body is a little bit weird. It seems what? Sky King quickly asked. Qin Xiu quietly said, "I wanted to use a self-gene to reach the last step in my past life, so I made this Geno evolution skill. It was called the Story of Genes. It was for using your own genes to escape the boundaries of this universe, but one man's genes are very limited in their ultimate scope. They cannot evolve the universe, so the Story of Genes was just something fake. It was nothing real that could amount to anything tangible and great. It did not achieve anything. I could not even learn it myself in my past life." "Mister, have you practiced the Story of Genes in this life?" Sky King asked Qin Xiu. Qin Xiu shook his head. "I have spent this life researching the Story of Genes. This skill could make people's genes have a breakthrough, but the story of genes itself, at the end of the day, was just a hypothesis. It was never more than that. It never worked. The skill required far too much body power. If I had a body that could achieve that, I would have already reached the final step. I would not need the story of genes. If I did not have a body like that, I could not practice the story of genes and would not be able to make the last step. Therefore, this is a dead cycle that cannot be solved. That is why I said the story of genes is a hypothesis that does not bear fruit. Sky King looked weird as he asked, "Now that you are talking about the story of genes, can you determine whether or not Hansen practiced the story of genes?" "Maybe he hasn't," Qin Xiu said. "If I have guessed it right, he might have actually practiced with the story of genes. He used the gene prototype armor to get himself a basic the story of genes that was at a beginner level." "Are you saying that he practiced with the story of genes to make that step?" Sky King was in shock. Qin Xiu laughed coldly. "He is only at a beginner level. To be at the beginning does not suggest he practiced with it. Did I not say that to achieve it, you must take that step? Without that step, it cannot work. It would be a dead cycle. Now Hansen is just like me in my past life. He has reached a dead end with no way back. He has no chance of breaking away. The step he has reached cannot be abandoned. He will be forever forced to remain at the precise point he has reached. Is there a way for him to take that step?" Sky King looked worried. Qin Xiu coldly said, "If there was a way to make that step, I would not be forced to reincarnate after my past life. I could not do it in my past life, and he is just a normal, mixed human." "You are correct, mister." Sky King thought of who Qin Xiu was before. He felt safe and thought, "If that person cannot walk out of that dead cycle, I do not think anyone can." In time Sky, Moment God got up from the rubble that was strewn about. She had white hair. Her god body was extremely frail. She no longer shine with a god light. She was like a woman with white hair who had fallen ill. She looked very pale and drained of life. Blood was leaking from the corner of her lips. "Why don't you kill me?" Moment God bit her lips. She ignored the blood on her lips and stared at Han Sr. "Why would I want to kill you?" Hansen asked. "You are not my enemy. In some way we share a common enemy. The enemy of an enemy is a friend, and I do not kill friends." The truth was that he could not actually kill Moment God. "We are not friends. We will never be friends. If you do not kill me today, I will come back for you. You took my God spirit, and I am going to take it back." After Moment God said that, she turned around. She dragged her weak body with her in an attempt to break space. "I will return it to you." Han Sun threw the time needle to Moment God. Moment God accepted the time needle and gnashed her teeth. She threw it back and coldly said, "I will take back what I lost. I do not need your pity and charity." After that, Moment God broke space and abandoned time sky. Han Sun took the time needle. He looked where Moment God had departed and shook his head. "I wonder if this will work on the God of Wealth Temple. If it works, I can let her use it." Hansen put the needle away. The sky clock started to fly. The Geno tablet on the wheel smiled. It surrounded Hansen, checking him out. "What are you doing?" Hansen asked with a frown. The Geno tablet's voice was heard in Hansen's brain. Moment God's time power reached the max of what is possible in this universe. It only needed one more step to go beyond this universe. With that power, your body should be affected by your level, but you are fine. That is so weird. People thought Hansen used the sky clock power to block Moment God's time power, but the Geno tablet knew Hansen did not use the sky clock power. Hansen's heart jumped. He pretended to remain chill and asked, "Does that mean I made that step? If you had made that step, the entire universe would repel you. You would not be sitting here." The Geno tablet paused and said, "Your body truly is weird. Give me a drop of your blood, and I will test your genes again." "I thought you said there was no point in doing that," Hansen said with a smile. The Geno tablet felt embarrassed. It sounded angry as it said, "Just do as you are told and stop talking crap." Chapter 3407 cannot explain. Hansen wanted to know more about what was going on with his body. He bit his finger and let a drop of blood fall onto the sky clock's circular shape. Hansen thought he would see the same scene he saw when watching Bauer conduct the same test, but he quickly realized things were not right. The droplet of blood he allowed to fall onto the circular shape of the clock was like a little red tadpole. It floated across the surface of the wheel. It was not absorbed by the wheel like it should have been. The Geno tablet did not say anything in response to that. The sky clock did, however, brightly shine. The needle started to wildly spin. It looked like it was trying to force the absorption of Hansen's blood. The blood was very stubborn. It was still crystallized and very much alive. It kept jumping across the wheel. No matter what the sky clock attempted, it did not seem to work. Hansen saw that the blood was not being absorbed by the stone clock, so he could not help but ask, "Geno tablet, care to tell me what is going on here?" The sky clock suddenly stopped. The Geno tablet's voice sounded in Hansen's head. "Your genes are weird. With the sky clock's power, it cannot be absorbed. It looks like you will have to go back to the Geno tablet for a proper test." After that, the sky clock started to run again. It twisted space and opened another path to the Geno tablet. After watching the sky clock fly through, Hansen quickly gave chase. He traveled through the time door. Hansen found himself before the Geno tablet again. The sky clock was in front of the Geno tablet. He let a drop of blood fall upon the wheel. It landed at the bottom of the Geno tablet. The Geno tablet started to shine. It looked like countless symbols and spells were floating. That was especially true for where the drop of blood was. It was wrapped up by the light spell. It took on the guise of a small, bright sun. Hansen watched this quietly from the side. He did not do anything. He just patiently awaited the results of this test. The Geno tablet just kept spinning. It went on and on without an actual result being yielded. This was completely different from the first time he had gone there to test his genes. It made Hansen wonder, no way. Is the Geno tablet unable to test and discover the condition of my genes? Hansen waited in front of the Geno tablet for 30 minutes. The Geno tablet was still spinning madly where it was. The entire thing was glowing and spinning, lighting up the realm in vibrant luminosity. It was like a machine that was in operation with overclock speeds. Weird. This really is so weird. The sky clock's Geno tablet made some strange sounds. What is going on now? Hansen quickly asked. The Geno tablet said, "This is so weird. If I had not watched that droplet of blood come out of you, I would not even believe this was a droplet of blood bled from a creature." Hansen did not understand, so he asked, "What is that supposed to mean?" The Geno tablet weirdly said, "To say this is a drop of blood is mostly wrong. It would be more like a drop of water or a piece of stone. No, even water and stone have a structure to visualize. Your blood is like the most primitive of substances. It is like the most basic and primitive existence in all of creation. It cannot be analyzed, broken down, or dissolved." How is that even possible? Hansen was frozen. I know that this should be impossible, but the Geno tablet's analysis of your blood really does yield these non-results. Give me another drop of blood. I would like to test this once more. The Geno tablet sounded as if it was in a rush. Hansen was not going to hesitate. This situation was starting to become far more than he ever thought it might. It was such a conundrum. He was absolutely dying to find out more. He wanted results. Hansen gnashed his finger and let more blood drop onto the Geno tablet. In fear that one droplet was not enough, he let many more drops of blood fall upon the target. "You should fall back a little," the Geno tablet said. "I am going to analyze your genes." Hansen retreated a little. He saw the Geno tablet was rising. All of the symbols and signs were lighting up across the Geno tablet. It was like a machine that was operating at full power and firing on all cylinders. The few drops of blood he had given were yielding results similar to the very first drop of blood Hansen had given the Geno tablet. They quietly stuck to the surface of the Geno tablet. They were not going to blend into the Geno tablet and be absorbed. It did not matter how bright the Geno tablet became. It could not corrode the blood and consume it. The blood forever remained fresh and was untainted by other things. It was like his blood droplets were individual stones. The Geno tablet's light symbols were quickly spinning. The whole of the Geno tablet became extraordinarily bright. It gave people the feeling it might explode at any second. Hansen fell back a little. He was worried that the Geno tablet was going to blow up in his face. Time went by. The Geno tablet still could not refine Hansen's blood. Geno tablet, you are going to have to tell me something about this eventually. Hansen knew there would not be any solid results, but he still wanted to know something. I am still trying to conduct these tests, the Geno tablet replied. From what I can tell, these results are no different from things earlier. Your blood is like the most basic structure, and that denies me being able to analyze it. That is impossible. Hansen frowned. Of course. Do you think I do not know that this should be impossible? If this kind of analysis does not work, there is only one other thing this means. It would mean you are a creature that is dumber than an amoeba. Let's not talk about you being able to comprehend the actual concept of thinking, but it means you do not even know how to eat shit. The Geno tablet's description made Hansen speechless. From what you can tell, what is my situation now? Hansen carefully asked. The Geno tablet was silent a moment before saying, I have not experienced a situation like this before. If I was to take a guess, I would say there are two possibilities. What are these two possibilities? Hansen hastily asked. One is that your body's structure is far advanced, the Geno tablet said. It is too much for what I am able to analyze. Therefore, I cannot analyze it for you. If things are like that, that means my body must have evolved to a very high level, Hansen thought. According to the theory, even if you did make that step, my gene data would not have a reference point for you to be compared to, the Geno tablet said. I can still keep trying to analyze it though. What is my situation now? Hansen was confused. After being silent for a while, the Geno tablet's voice sounded again. Unless your evolution speed goes over what I know and is in my power, then this situation can happen. The chances of something like that happening are very small though. So what is the second possibility? Hansen did not think his evolution level was so high that it could surpass what the Geno tablet was capable of analyzing. If his body was like that, it would not be as weak as it was. He would be indestructible and able to destroy the whole universe in one strike if he truly was that great. The Geno tablet remained silent for even longer this time. A while later, it said, there is one more possibility, which is that you are on a new path of evolution. The direction you are on is different from every other one anyone has ever had before. It is a new model of evolution. That is why I cannot analyze the structure of your genes. Hansen was shocked, so he asked, do you really think that is possible? I do not know, the Geno tablet seriously said. From what I can tell, that is the most likely reason why. That is my guess. Chapter 3408 Back to Space Garden. Hansen did not expect that even the Geno tablet would be unable to test his gene mode. This was fairly hard to imagine. Even Qin Xiu's genes were able to be analyzed by the Geno tablet. This was something that had never happened before. If it was just as the Geno tablet told him, he might have embarked on a path that was different from all other beings in creation. If that was true, Hansen could not determine if that was a good thing or a bad thing. A new type of evolution meant there was no predetermined direction for him to follow. There was no prior experience he could use for references. Hansen would not even know how to walk along the paths that now lay before him. It was like one person traversing a foggy land alone. The next step might have him stumble upon holy fruit, god grass, gold mountains, or silver mountain. Stepping in another direction might have him plummet from a 10,000-foot high cliff, encounter toxic snakes, and terrifying beasts. One step could lead to heaven, whereas another step could lead straight to hell. The paths no person had walked before were mysteries. If there was a success to be found, the rewards and achievements were grand. Unfortunately, paths like this were often occupied by lots of blood and bones. It meant one's general success was based on 10,000 bones. Hansen did not know if he was the person that could reach the altar, or become a pile of bones scattered across the ground. With things the way they are now, I can't go back. I have no choice but to keep on going. I hope that I can sort this disaster out before I die. Hansen was not worried about himself. He was just not sure if his body was enough to stop Qin Xiu. Hansen looked at the sky clock and said, Geno tablet, Look at my body. What is it like when compared to Qin Xiu? The Geno tablet went silent for a while and said, I do not know. According to the theory, if Qin Xiu levels up to reach Reboot class and combines with the Geno prototype armor, he will be the strongest life in this universe. Aside from your daughter, no other creature can fight against him. After saying that, the Geno tablet paused for a brief while. It then said, As for your genes, right now they are hard to determine. Maybe something accidental and unforeseen might happen. What you have just said does not mean anything. Han Sen was speechless. To know something is to know something, the Geno tablet calmly said. To not know something is to not know something. No one can tell, or be certain of something if they do not understand things. Wait until you fight Qin Xiu. Only then can things be determined. You will know the results then. Han Sen looked at it with disdain. After he and Qin Xiu fought, the Geno tablet could no longer be used for analysis. It doesn't matter anyway. I am going back. You can come on out of this now. Han Sen no longer wanted to waste his time with the Geno tablet. He lifted the sky clock while speaking. You do what you need to do, the Geno tablet said. I will keep my spirit inside the sky clock. Are you not leaving? Han Sen frowned. The Geno tablet looked upset and asked, What do you mean not leaving? I am staying inside the sky clock because I think you are great. My presence will only benefit you. What good can you possibly bring me? When I participate in the Geno tablet fights, will you help me? Han Sen curled his lips as he spoke. Of course not, the Geno tablet said. I created the Geno tablet fights. I will not break my own rules. If you are not going to help me, what is the point of you staying in the sky clock? Han Sen harshly asked. The Geno tablet did not speak. It did not say anything, but it also did not lift itself from the sky clock. It was like it was trying to play cheap and not emerge from the sky clock. Hey, what are you doing? You are the Geno tablet. You can't just do this. Han Sen shouted at the Geno tablet, but he received no response. It was like the Geno tablet was asleep. There was nothing he could do about it. He put the sky clock away and abandoned the 33 skies. He returned to Space Garden. The atmosphere in Space Garden was very tense. Huang Fujing and the others were doing their best to battle the Breakworld beasts. They were hoping to reach 100 Breakworld points themselves, so they did not stay at the base. When Han Sen returned to the base, only Wang Yuhang was there. Zero and Little Angel had yet to return. Little uncle, did you max out your Breakworld genes? Han Sen sat in front of Wang Yuhang. He poured himself out a cup of water. Wang Yuhang nodded. They are maxed out. My Super God Spirit body evolved to ultimate mode, but my Super God Spirit body does not work in solo fights. It is only best when there are more enemies around. When it boils down to a one-on-one, it all depends on luck. I do not think I will be able to help you much. Maybe not. Maybe you will have to use a lot of strength. Han Sen smiled. Wang Yuhang tossed a piece of fruit to Han Sen and smiled. Do you expect me to defend Space Garden? You are smart, little uncle. Han Sen gave him a thumbs up. He was not afraid of the Geno tablet fights. He was just afraid Qin Xiu might do something to Space Garden during the Geno tablet fights. Wang Yuhang squinted his eyes and said, Do not worry. If the God Chaos Party attacks Space Garden, they will be sent home in body bags. Han Sen looked at Wang Yuhang. He felt safe and comforted. It was good to have someone to rely on. Wang Yuhang patted Han Sen on the shoulder and said, You can go. I have got things handled here. Han Sen returned to his yard. Ji Yanran was teaching Linger how to write. Upon seeing Han Sen come back, Ji Yanran stood up. Linger's body flashed and vanished. When she appeared again, she was in Han Sen's arms. She held Han Sen's neck and loudly proclaimed, Dad. Isn't that my teleportation skill? When did you learn that, Ling? Han Sen was shocked. His teleportation skill came from the very high's God Wander. It was more complicated than the average example of space teleportation. Ordinary people could not practice this teleportation skill. Linger was his daughter, but Han Sen never had the time to teach her how to teleport. Even if he did have time, to teleport cost a lot of energy. Han Sen did not believe she had what it took to use it. Now Linger had somehow learned his teleportation skills. In the past you took me to play. When you used to teleport to hurry things up, I learned it. Linger tilted her head as she explained. I only used it a few times. Did you really learn it from that? Han-sun was shocked. Yes, it is very easy, Linger said with a nod. Han-sun was happy to hear this. He felt quite touched. Maybe only you will think it is easy. Other people would be unable to learn it. Even if I went to teach them, they would not understand. It is that hard, huh? Linger looked unsure. Ji Yanran, who was nearby, smiled. Why don't you look at who the mother is? It should not be a surprise how she can learn such things. You are right, Master Wife. Han-sun smiled and nodded. As they chatted, Han Yufei was conducting a very special test in the Space Garden's lab. Little baby, be good. Your mother will make you the strongest creature in the universe. As Han Yufei stared at the machine, she looked crazy. Chapter 3409. Convincing Han-sun was back in the sanctuaries. Bauer was practicing. She and the gourd vine were combining well. She would soon be able to control the gourd vine with finesse. Han-sun watched Bauer from afar, but he made no plan on seeing her. The Geno tablet's voice sounded in Han-sun's brain. Your daughter's genes are very good. Just wait until her genes have officially combined with the Geno seed. She will most certainly be able to walk that step. Her genes' completion is better than Qin Xiu's. If she joined the Geno tablet fights, she would be able to defeat Qin Xiu. Han-sun did not speak. He did not look happy. After a while he spoke to the Geno tablet. I take back my request. Please, no matter what, do not permit Bauer to join the Geno tablet fight. Why not? The Geno tablet asked. Her genes are the most perfect in this entire universe. I would like her for a host. There is a big chance she would be able to control the whole universe. She would become the master of the entire universe. None of that matters to me, Han-sun said. Her becoming master of the universe means nothing to me. I just want her to be safe, happy, and able to live a fulfilling life. After thinking for a moment, the Geno tablet said, From what I know, you and Qin Xiu are like water and fire. If Bauer does not join, Qin Xiu will be the Geno tablet's master. He will then control the entire universe. The situation will become much worse, even for you. Bauer will have to fight him, but her chances of winning will be low. I thought you said I have a chance of beating Qin Xiu, Han-sun coldly said. That was just an expectation of mine, the Geno tablet said. I have no genuine idea what the actual chances of you winning are. The evolution of your genes is too weird and erratic, so it is difficult to accurately predict your chances. Maybe you will win, but maybe you will lose. In that case, let's resume our conversation after I lose. First, you must help me. No matter what the circumstances are, do not allow Bauer to join the Geno tablet fights. Han-sun made his mind up. That the rules cannot be changed. If Bauer challenges a leader before the Geno tablet fights start, aside from Qin Xiu, other leaders will not be able to stop her from becoming a leader. The Geno tablet looked glum as it spoke. If this is easily sorted, why would I beg you? Just help me out, would you? I believe you have a way around this. Han-sun smiled. Fine, the Geno tablet said. I can think of a way that will allow me to do this without breaking the rules. After I help you, I need to stay in Sky Clock, and you need to stop talking nonsense. You, sir, have a deal. Han-sun looked at Bauer trying to connect with the gourd seed. Chaos, who was wearing black crystal armor, was watching over her. She taught Bauer what to do. Chaos was not as strong as she was before, but her knowledge was still top class. Even Han-sun did not know as much as she did. Oh wow. Dad, I cannot believe you are here. When did you get here? Bauer saw Han-sun and happily went over to see him. She held on to Han. Senator Chaos looked at Bauer with jealousy. She felt rather upset about Bauer's connection to Han. Senator. She and Bauer recognized each other. But Bauer was not as close to Chaos as she was to Han. Senator. She was the biological mother, but she was not as close to her as Han-sun, who was only her stepfather. That made Chaos sad. But Chaos was not a jealous person. Plus, Han-sun was the one who raised Bauer. He had treated her like a real daughter, so she could not hold contempt for Han. Senator. Upon seeing Han-sun approach, Chaos said. You are not doing too bad for yourself. You got the leadership position of Time Sky. You might be able to help Bauer erase some unnecessary troubles. After pausing, Chaos checked out Hansen's body and said, Your power has surprised me. You were able to block a lot of time power. Does your body wield time element gene powers? As a matter of fact, I did do some practicing with time element Geno arts in the past, Hansen replied. Chaos nodded. You are not too bad. It is a shame your soul genes are too weak. If you were able to reincarnate a few more times, perhaps you would be able to take the final step. After spirits are reborn, won't their past life memories be erased? Hansen asked. Chaos laughed. Ordinary spirits will not take their memories over to the next life, but some powerful life forces can adopt soul gene changes like Qin Xiu and me. We reincarnated, but we are special. We are stronger. Every life you have will be better than the last, but it does take a lot of requirements. Your life force would need a lot, so ordinary life forces cannot achieve this. When you had the Geno prototype stone, I tested your soul genes. It is a shame your soul genes are so average. You do not have any past life memories. That means your soul, and whatever you were in a past life is no more. Just one lifetime of experience will not allow you to complete the last step. Hansen did not say anything, which was probably because he knew he wouldn't be able to walk that step. The Geno tablet had already told him he might be treading a new path of evolution. Perhaps it was not even a path. Bauer looked upset and said, You cannot say that to my father. If my dad does not walk that step, that is only because he does not want to. If he wants to take it, he absolutely will. My cat is the strongest. Chaos frowned. She could tell Bauer had relied on Hansen far too much. That sort of dependence was too much. It was beyond the realms of sense now. For Bauer's growth, that was not a good thing. As her daughter and the heir to that man, Bauer was the most perfect life form in the universe. She should have been very proud of herself. She should not have been constantly relying on Hansen the way she was. Chaos moved her lips, but she did not say anything. She understood why she was mad when Bauer spoke that way to Hansen, but did not call her mom. If she said something more negative about Hansen, Bauer would only become more upset. Compared to the relationship Bauer had with Hansen, Bauer would only hate her more. It was a shame considering she was her biological mother. Hansen stroked Bauer's head and smiled. Bauer is right. If I want to, I will be able to. Don't you worry about a thing. I will not allow anything to harm my baby daughter. Not Qin Xiu or even the gods themselves will harm her. You really love Bauer, don't you? Bauer was very happy. She gave Hansen a kiss. Chaos felt terrible about this. She thought, maybe Hansen is being honest. I do not doubt that, but having such absolute faith does not always guarantee success. Aside from Bauer, no one else can defeat Qin Xiu. If Hansen fights Qin Xiu before Bauer, he will fight Qin Xiu hard. That will be bad. If he dies, Bauer will be heartbroken and no longer be able to fight Qin Xiu with a still heart. No, I must convince Hansen to not do anything I would deem dumb. Chaos said, Bauer, you should go and practice. Me and Hansen have something we need to do. She then performed a gesture to Hansen. Senator Hansen knew Chaos had something she wished to say to him. He stroked Bauer's hair and said, Go on, Bauer. You go and practice. I will take you home later. Let's have dinner with Mom, Little Flower, and Linger. Cool. I miss my mother, sister, and brother, Bauer merrily agreed. She jumped off of Hansen and went to practice. Chaos, what is it you want to tell me? Hansen and Chaos walked far away from Bauer before the question was asked. Chaos looked at Hansen with a serious expression and said, I know you love Bauer, and I know you treat her like a biological daughter. If you really want what is best for her, you should promise me something. In the Geno tablet fights, if you encounter Qin Xiu before Bauer does, you must quit. You cannot allow Qin Xiu to kill you. That will distract Bauer. Perhaps winning would mean losing. You do not want bad things to happen to Bauer, right? Chapter 34:10 With light and dust. You are right. I do not want something to happen to Bauer. Don't you worry. I know what to do. Hansen paused and said, Giving Bauer too much pressure is flat out not good for her. Let her rest for the night. Let her come home with me to have dinner. Let her relax, unwind, and get some energy back. Sure. Chaos nodded in agreement. Han Sen took Bauer back with him to Space Garden. He called for his family to convene. Together with Bauer, they all had dinner. Aside from Little Flower and Linger, Tang Minger, Zero, Little Angel, Little Silver, and the others were all there. The whole family was complete. Bauer did not enjoy practicing. She had been trying hard for so long that she had grown bored of it. Now, she was like a happy girl again. This was a night that gave her a chance to have fun. Bauer and her siblings, the three of them, were playing games. Han Sen and Ji Yanran sat on the couch watching them. Little Silver lay across Han Sen's lap. Its eyes were closed. It allowed Han Sen to stroke its silver hair. Han Sen wished time could freeze then and there. Han Sen's phone rang. It was displaying Mr. White's number, so he answered the call. Han Sen could not help but ask, "Mr. White, have you learned anything on the matter we discussed?" "It is difficult for me to describe with mere words," Mr. White said. "If you are free, I suggest you come visit my place." "Sure. I will head over there now." Han Sen put the phone down. He had no choice but to send Bauer back to the sanctuaries. He then went to the place in Space Garden where Mr. White lived. When Han Sen saw Mr. White, he quickly asked, "Mr. White, have you found anything?" Mr. White looked at Han Sen and said, "I have some predictions, but I am not too sure how accurate they are. I will have to conduct more tests. Can you use the Dongxian Sutra now?" Han Sen thought, "This is hard for me to say. I cannot use the Dongxian Sutra like I used to. When I am in danger and need to use it, I can use the Dongxian aura and feel everything that poses a threat to me. It's not quite like the Dongxian aura I used to know. It is difficult for me to describe." Mr. White nodded. He suddenly reached his hand out and patted Han Sen on the chest. Mr. White stood in front of Han Sen, who was not aware of Mr. White's movement. His hand had suddenly moved. It was like a phantom ghost hand. Even if Qin Xiu was there, he might not have been able to avoid it. Just as Mr. White's hand was going to touch Han Sen, his body reacted on instinct and moved to avoid Mr. White's incoming hand. Han Sen did not fight back. He did not look alert. He did, however, give Mr. White a questioning look. He did not believe Mr. White wanted to hurt him. He must have had his reasons to do that. Mr. White looked at Han Sen's body and said, "I see. Your body has reached with light and dust level." Han Sen was confused, which he shared with Mr. White via a look. He asked, "With light and dust level? What is that supposed to mean?" "I thought you were a student of Xianmen. Are these simple Xianmen words already beyond your understanding? Did you not read the Xianmen dictionary I gave you?" Mr. White looked like he was smiling at Han Sen, but he was not smiling. Han Sen felt embarrassed. "You know I cannot find time to relax and read. Plus, I have very bad luck. Bad things follow me like a bad smell. I can never have the time to study literature." Mr. White laughed and said, "That is certainly nonsense. You just don't want to read books. Otherwise, with your evolving speed, remembering these Xianmen dictionaries would not be difficult." Han Sen blushed. He felt rather sad by the insinuation and said, "I am afraid this is useless. The Xianmen is not really like mathematics. If I cannot understand the text, remembering it would be pointless." Mr. White nodded and said, "You really are not suitable at learning Xianmen. If you do not practice Xianmen, but can practice the Dongxian Sutra to such a level, it is something I can only describe as odd. If you have the time, you should explain the Dongxian Sutra to Ji Yanran. She is very good with Xianmen. She will achieve a lot with the Dongxian Sutra. If things are indeed that way, then that is great. I will go and teach her tonight." Han Sen felt a bit excited. When he started speaking, his smile started to become bitter. "You missed the Dongxian Sutra." Mr. White looked at Han Sen with a soft smile. Han Sen shook his head. "Ji Yanran is a wife who has gone through life and death situations with me. It is not just the Dongxian Sutra. I am willing to teach her anything and everything I know. But like you said, Ji Yanran is very good with this stuff. When she learns the Dongxian Sutra, she will see through everything and be more sensitive. That will be very hard for me to live with." "What you are saying makes sense. If the water is too clear, there can be no fish. If people get too close, there will be a fissure growing. It is always good to have some space and distance. After saying that, Mr. White said smiled. Don't you worry. I already told you that your body has already reached the with light and dust level. Even if Ji Yanran practiced the Dongxian Sutra to your level, she will still be unable to see through you. Mr. White, does this with light and dust level mean? Hansen quickly asked. With means flat, Mr. White explained. It means to cover. And means equal, so there are no differences. Mirrors capture dust and forbid shining. Whoever has the light will one day burn out and go dark someday. It means to cover yourself with the light. It is to be like dust. If you do not have light, you will not be dark. After thinking about Mr. White's short speech, Hansen asked, Are you saying to wait for the chance to come and do not reveal yourself? What does any of that have to do with my body? Mr. White nodded. People are aware that swords are sharp, and they know cannons can be destructive. There are things in this world that cannot be sorted out by swords and cannons. It is like when you are thirsty, you require water. When you are hungry, you require food. Even if you have an indestructible, ultimate sword or a cannon that can obliterate planets, they are pointless to have in such situations. Hansen retreated into thought. It looked like he was understanding something, but he didn't understand a thing. Mr. White went on to say, Ordinary creatures evolve along a path. There is a path of progress that leads them into obtaining more power. That sort of guided evolution is very limiting. It can be overbearing in the universe. In another area, such powers can be useless. Are you saying that my body can do anything in this area? Hansen understood what Mr. White meant. Yes. You are not so stupid after all. Although your understanding is not very accurate, that's what it means. Mr. White smiled. Why did I not have any feelings like that? Let's not just say I can do anything in any area and at the same time. Why can't I do something that my power is capable of achieving? Hansen looked at Mr. White with confusion, trying to figure out what had happened to him. That is because you have yet to understand your body, Mr. White seriously said. The hardest thing to understand in this world is yourself. Try to understand yourself, and you will make progress someday. Chapter 34:11 Having Problems. How am I supposed to completely understand and control my body? After Mr. White left, Hansen got to thinking about all the things Mr. White told him. Dragon Lady saw Hansen walking and talking to himself all alone, so she said, It is so late. What are you doing here alone? Hansen looked at Dragon Lady and replied, I came back from Mr. White. It is already late, so why are you not asleep? I have invented a new dish. Everyone is resting, so no one can try it. It is perfect that I have found you here. I suppose you can be the first to try out my new dish. Dragon Lady dragged Hansen over to her kitchen. I really do not have much of an appetite. Hansen was not in much of a mood to try anything. There was a fight coming soon, and he was concerned more about the safety of his friends and family. Eating new foods was low on his list of priorities. That is excellent. My food can certainly boost someone's appetite. I heartily recommend you have a bite. Dragon Lady did not say much. She pulled Hansen to the kitchen and put a dish down in front of him. Since he was already there, Hansen decided he would at least eat a bit. After all, he did not want to hurt her feelings. Dragon Lady was very skillful. There was every chance that across the whole universe, there was not a chef greater than her. Unfortunately, Hansen really was not in the mood to eat. He did not think about the food on the table in front of him, so he just had a bite. The texture was good. He said, It tastes great. After hearing what Hansen had to say, Dragon Lady asked him for more. If you think this dish is great, then please tell me what you think is good about it in further detail. Hansen felt a bit embarrassed. He had only casually said what he did. He did not expect Dragon Lady to ask him a question in pursuit of more critique. He was just being polite on a whim. He did not really take the time to properly taste the food and understand how it tasted. You must understand that I am not a professional food taster, he said. I just thought it tasted great. There is not much more I can say. If you ask me what part of the food tastes the best and why, I cannot really tell you. He put more meat into his mouth, This time, Han Sen tried his best to taste the food. He did not expect he would be able to tell what was so good about the dish. More than anything, he just wanted this to be over and done with it. When Han Sen tried it this time, he was more than surprised. "That is fine," Dragon Lady said. "Just tell me what your heart is telling you." The way it was cooked was not for the food taster to taste. My purpose was to create something long-lasting. This was the first time Han Sen had heard a theory like this. Now that he was curious, he asked for more detail. "Long-lasting? What do you mean?" "There are lots of nice foods in this world. In this universe, new dishes are being invented every moment. Many dishes can be very popular. Those that are draw in lots of people who want to eat them. Many people will queue for a long amount of time just to get a taste, but food like this might find itself ignored and forgotten after a short amount of time. Even if it remained on the menu, not many people would order this. People would only order this now and again, but a very simple dish can prove itself reliable. Because of that, it can last millions of years. It can be a solid dish that, even if you ate it every day, you would not grow tired of it. I am looking for that. Something long-lasting. I want a dish that many people will want to keep eating for a long period of time, and not for a one-off. Ideally, by coming up with this sort of dish, I can invoke a change in people's diets." "I understand where you're coming from," Han Sen said. "To make food that can last a long time is not an easy task. Before humans started exploring other planets, their food options were very lacking. They just ate whatever they were able to. They then developed particular foods that were considered traditional. Now in the universe, you have all sorts of ingredients to make food with. You might say there are too many foods, so traditional, long-lasting meals don't really exist. That is why this means so much to me. It is a challenge, and that is what I am after. If it was not difficult for me to do, I would not be bothered doing this." Dragon Lady smiled. She looked at Han Sen and said, "To be able to say all you did, it means you really understand food. Why don't you tell me what this dish really tastes like? Just so you know, I call it spring-autumn meat. Do you think this has what it takes to be a long-lasting food?" Han Sen lowered his head and stared at the meat. He started to look at it strangely. Dragon Lady thought Han Sen would have said something by now, so she said, "You can tell me anything. Is there something you can hide from? I thought we were close enough to share everything." Han Sen was silent a moment before proceeding to say, "I do not know if this dish has what it takes to be long-lasting, but from what I see, this dish has a problem." "What problem?" Dragon Lady asked. Han Sen did not answer her immediately. Instead, he made a request. "How about this? You make this food again. Perhaps then I can better identify what the problem is." Han Sen was not a professional food critic, but Dragon Lady admired him all the same. She did not disregard his opinion just because he was not a professional, so she went ahead to do what Han Sen had told her. She produced more of that spring-autumn meat. Dragon Lady summoned a wok, spoon, knife, and spatula. She brought out a few ingredients and went ahead to cook the spring-autumn meat right in front of Han. Senator Dragon Lady's skills were very good. No matter the food choice, the process, or even the whole controlling of the fire aspect, everything she did was perfect. Even the top-class chefs and food critics from all across the universe would have been unable to identify a single fault. In Han Sen's eyes, all of this made him start to look weird. Han Sen was able to cook meat, but his cooking ability was simple. Even some grilled meat was considered very special. Before Dragon Lady, his cooking meat skill paled in comparison. As Han Sen watched Dragon Lady make food, he had a weird feeling. Dragon Lady's every movement was something that resonated familiarity with him. It was like as Dragon Lady made food, every step and every movement were something Han Sen had seen before. Most of Dragon Lady's movements were something Han Sen was familiar with, but there were also times Han Sen thought her movements were different. The places and moves Han Sen could not feel familiar with were the times Han Sen thought Dragon Lady was making a mistake. It made Han Sen feel pretty weird. When it came to fighting powers, Han Sen could defeat Dragon Lady. When it came to cooking talents, Han Sen would never catch up with Dragon Lady. Their levels were nowhere near the same. Now Han Sen believed that Dragon Lady was not doing things right, and that feeling was very strong. It was a little unbelievable. What is going on? Why do I have this feeling? Is that the with light and dust Mr. White was talking about? Hansen was as much shocked as he was confused. He suddenly did not know what to do. Dragon Lady had already cooked the spring-autumn meat. She put it down in front of Hansen and asked him with seriousness, "Now do you mind telling me what is wrong with the dish? It is really hard for me to explain." Hansen thought for a moment and said, "There is this feeling I have, and it prohibits me from speaking. How about I make one myself, and you get to rate how well I do it?" He did not believe his feelings were right. He did not know what to think, so he did not confess what he was feeling to her. "Are you going to make spring-autumn meat for me?" Dragon Lady looked at Hansen with shock. With Hansen's cooking skills, she could already predict how awful this was going to turn out. While the spring-autumn meat looked simple, there were two different vegetables and meats that required different timings and temperatures. Hansen would have to watch the temperature. Chefs that weren't professionals would not be able to juggle like that. With Hansen's lack of ability, she did not think he would be able to produce the dish. Chapter 34:12 Spring-Autumn Maya. Let me try it. Hansen did not have power like Dragon Lady. He could only enter the kitchen and use ordinary kitchen utensils and instruments to cook with. The spring-autumn meat contained 3 ingredients. The first was a heap of spring spices. The second ingredient was autumn mushrooms, and the third was a prime cut of thunder beast meat. The skin of a thunder beast was tough. Although it was not a high-class xenogenic, ordinary weapons were unable to damage its skin. The meat, however, was very fresh. That was especially true of the meat on its back. It was very thin and small. It made for excellent food to fry. The spring spices were crispy. The autumn mushrooms were smooth. When combined, the two of them could effectively get rid of the gamey taste. The three of them worked to present a wonderful dish. The meat accentuated the smells of the spring spices and autumn mushrooms. The meat was able to make the vegetables oily but not too greasy. It provided a refreshing taste. That dish seemed easy to make. All one had to do was put the 3 ingredients in, and then get to work frying. Regarding the seasoning, all one had to add was some salt and sugar. The 3 ingredients were enough to make an award-winning taste. However, a dish like that was hard to improve upon. The spring spices were the freshest they could be. To cook at a high temperature meant perfect timing was needed. After a long amount of time, the spring spices tended to lose their crispiness. If they were not done well enough, their spicy tastes would not come out to complement the dish, rendering it all difficult to swallow. Without the spices to erase the gamey taste of the thunder beast's meat, it would taste poorly. The thunder beast's meat was fresh, so it could not be cooked for too long. The autumn mushrooms, however, could be cooked for a long time. One could not cook it for long though. Otherwise, the natural mushroom taste disappeared. These 3 ingredients required 3 different fires. The timing for each was very strict. One had to control the fire accurately and sort out the ingredients. It was a complicated process. The spring spices and autumn mushrooms had to be cooked in slices. The heat needed to be equal, so the autumn mushrooms had to be thin while the spring spices had to be thick. That was how they were able to be cooked at the same time. The thunder beast meat needed to be clean. Dragon Lady had already done that on Hansen's behalf, so he did not need to worry about that. That simple meat actually had many rules for cooking. Dragon Lady did not think someone like Hansen could prepare a decent spring-autumn meat dish. Then again, Hansen was known for constantly surprising people. Therefore, Dragon Lady was wise enough not to underestimate him. Hansen always cooked meat, but he never fried his food. After watching Dragon Lady fry the spring-autumn meat, he somehow seemed to understand something. He had a confidence that could not be described. Although he did not have Dragon Lady's magical tools, he was able to use ordinary cooking and make great use of them. He looked like a pro while using them. He was not a rookie. That was for sure. The cleaver in Hansen's hand had a rhythm to the way it sliced. It did not go fast, but it did not go slow. Its usage produced a melody that could not be described. Even Dragon Lady thought Hansen's way of cutting up food was an art form. Dragon Lady stared at Hansen as she thought. His skills and cooking skills go hand in hand. Hansen's knife skills are so good. Even his cutting is so good. Just because his cutting is good, it does not mean he can cook good food. How will he be able to fry this spring-autumn meat? Hansen did not think much. He cut the ingredients up and put them in the wok. Everything was so smooth that it was as if he had done this 1,000 times. Hansen had only seen Dragon Lady prepare and cook the spring-autumn meat, so the feelings were amazing. Dragon Lady looked at Han Senator. The more she watched, the wider her eyes became. Hansen conducted every step with amazing precision and accuracy. It was truly brilliant. Rather than just focusing on the accuracy, one could also say his rhythm was perfection. Even Dragon Lady did not think she could do better than Hansen when it came to that. Since when did he learn how to cook? Dragon Lady was shocked. This level of cooking finesse did not happen in one day. As she watched Hansen prepare the ingredients for cooking, she knew he must have been really familiar with the textures of the food. He could do whatever he wanted with them. Shortly after, Dragon Lady's surprise morphed into confusion. Hansen's process was the same as hers. In the end, there was a slight difference. The spring spices should have been dropped into the pan after the autumn mushrooms, but Hansen reversed this process. This time, he cooked the spring spices first. From Dragon Lady's point of view, this was wrong. When the autumn mushrooms were cooked, the spring spices would be overcooked. They would not be crispy, and the taste would not be so fresh. If he cooks like this, the spring-autumn meat will be ruined. Dragon Lady shook her head. Dragon Lady was most surprised by the fact that Hansen did not actually fry the autumn mushrooms. He only fried the spring spices a little. Then he picked them up. He picked up the meat and the spring spices. You haven't cooked the autumn mushrooms, Dragon Lady reminded him. You can put them in now, Hansen said. He put the thin slices of autumn mushrooms on top. They covered the spring spices and Thunder Beast meat. Dragon Lady was shocked. She did not know what Hansen was doing. Hansen poured some oil into the wok and watched the oil. When the oil was heated, Hansen lifted the wok and put the oil onto the plate. The golden oil was on the white mushrooms. The mushrooms became yellow. It was like a layer of gold, and it produced a delicious smell. The smell of the mushrooms, oil, meat, and spring spices all swirled together in an intoxicating haze. The chemical reaction was unbelievable. It created a vegetable smell that drew saliva out of people's mouths. Even Dragon Lady had to gulp down a lot of saliva when she saw it. It is done. Please try it. Hansen put the spring-autumn meat in front of Dragon Lady. Dragon Lady was shocked. She grabbed the chopsticks and picked up spring spices. After placing them in her mouth, her eyes opened wide. She looked as if she could not believe what she was tasting. The spring spices had absorbed the tastes of the autumn mushrooms and the meat. The spices themselves were so crispy that they made a large impact on the tongue the moment they touched down on it. Dragon Lady's mouth was overwhelmed by the orgy of flavors. With the right amount of salt and sugar in her mouth, it kept going and going to tease her tongue's most sensitive taste buds. It made Dragon Lady keep producing saliva. Before she could taste it all, she could not help but gobble it all up. Dragon Lady could not wait to try out the autumn mushrooms and the Thunder Beast meat. She hastily stuffed them into her mouth. The tastes were strong. The meat and mushrooms were all around her teeth as she gnashed, drenching her mouth in flavor. It conquered her tongue. The tasty presence exploded in her mouth. How did you do that? Dragon Lady looked at Hansen with a look of disbelief. It was as if she did not know who he was. Chapter 34:13 Understanding Dragon Lady was shocked. That kind of cooking skill was not rare, but to think of someone being able to cook like that, they must have had a great understanding of cooking and food. He would have to be well-versed and perhaps even be better than her. Hansen did not look like the sort of man who spent a lot of time cooking, yet he could modify the spring-autumn meat. On top of that, he discovered the best way to cook all three ingredients. It made Dragon Lady shocked, to say the least. Dragon Lady grabbed Hansen by the wrist and asked, "Tell me, when did you learn how to cook so well?" "You don't know who I am if you ask that," Hansen said with a laugh. "I have never had the time to learn how to cook. I only saw you cook it up once, and that is how I understood how to do the recipe." Dragon Lady rolled her eyes. If just one look could give someone so many cooking skills, chefs would no longer need to exist in this world. "I don't know. You know me the most. You are always cooking the food. How often do I get to cook? After Han Sen said that, he thought, does this have something to do with the light and dust level that Mr. White spoke about? I do not believe it. There is no way you can just randomly watch someone and become that good at cooking yourself. Dragon Lady knew Han Sen was speaking the truth though. She knew he did not have the time to cook. At best, he could only grill some meat. There was little to no skill involved in that. If Han Sen had randomly watched and learned that much skill, it was still something Dragon Lady could not wrap her head around and believe. Dragon Lady cooked a few more dishes for Han Senator. It turned out that he was able to cook those as well. He actually cooked the meals better than she did. He gave Dragon Lady more than a few surprises. His changes always made the food taste better than Dragon Lady's recipes. Dragon Lady looked at Han Sen in disbelief. She could not believe a genius man like him could possibly exist. He was better than her, who was a true professional. And he did all that just by having one look. How did you do this? Dragon Lady was a little bit sad. She started to wonder why she had studied so hard to become a good chef. Maybe that is why I am a genius. Han Sen pretended to think, stroking his chin as he did so. When Dragon Lady looked at Han Sen, she seemed angry. She was about to grab the frying pan and smack Han Sen across the face, but he seriously said, I think I really do understand. What do you understand? Dragon Lady asked him with shock. I cannot explain it. It is like no matter what I do, I can just find out the right way to do stuff. Han Sen tried to explain this as clearly as he could. When Dragon Lady heard him, she looked at Han Sen weirdly. The big path is a simple one to follow. Everything will return to its origin. Did you already reach the highest level, where humans and the path combine? I do not know. I do not know what has happened to me. Mr. White called this with light and dust. You are saying it is humans and the path getting together. I do not know what it is. Han Sen shook his head. He thought of another matter. He then said to Dragon Lady, there are many things I need to go and prove. How about we talk again at a later time? Han Sen waved his hands, left and returned to his home. Why are you so late? Ji Yanran was sitting in front of a table, sorting out many documents. Seeing Han Sen come back, she poured out some tea for him. Han Sen grabbed Ji Yanran and quickly said, Yanran, give me the hardest book of Xian Men. Why? I thought you hated those books. Are you going to study it in a rush? Ji Yanran looked at Han Sen with shock. Han Sen had given her all the Xian Men books long ago since he never wanted to read them himself. At best, he only flipped through a few of the pages. He never put his mind to the study of it. Of course not. I just want to see if I have what it takes to learn it. Han Sen could not really explain things to his wife. After thinking a moment, Ji Yanran said, when you looked at the hidden reel last time, you only read through half of it. Why don't you carry on from where you left off? I do not want the hidden reel or other silly beginner books, Han Sen said after a brief think. I want you to give me the one that is hardest to understand. I think there is one article called Xian Men Hidden Reel Explanation. Mr. White said that aided his understanding the most over the past few years. Do you really want to read the Xian Men Hidden Reel Explanation? Ji Yanran looked at Han Sen with shock. The Xian Men Hidden Reel Explanation was written by Mr. White with the knowledge he had on Xian Men. It was not the hardest book about Xian Men, but it covered a lot of aspects of it. If a person did not understand Xian Men, or if they were not scholars of the basic Xian Men, they would be unable to read the Xian Men Hidden Reel Explanation. Ji Yanran's Xian Men knowledge required a lot of information for studying Xian Men Hidden Reel Explanation. There was a lot she had yet to understand, so she was always having to ask Mr. White for clarification. Han Sen did not know anything about Xian Men, yet he wanted to jump straight into reading the Xian Men Hidden Reel Explanation. Ji Yanran did not know what point there was to him reading it. But if Han Sen wanted to have a look, Ji Yanran was not going to deny him. She gave to him a copy of the Xian Men Hidden Reel Explanation. The one Mr. White had penned was in the Han family's house back in the Alliance. It was not revealed to any random nobody. Han Sen did not understand anything. It was so hard for him. It was not like having a good memory would work for this. Although Han Sen tried to learn a lot of it, there was no progress. There was a lot of information about Xianmen. Hansen looked like he understood it despite not actually understanding. Even his Dongxian Sutra was at a high level. In the Xianmen stuff, Hansen did not understand very much. He was far inferior to Ji Yanran. Hansen picked up the Xianmen hidden real explanation and read it. After he read it, he felt happy. Before, it was so hard for him to understand. Now Hansen was somehow able to understand it all. Much to his surprise, it was not even that difficult. He could sense that the content of the pages was rather simple. This feeling could only be felt. It was like a person who had never studied mathematics before. They would get a headache when they saw it but would suddenly have a light bulb turn on in their head. The mathematics then no longer looked difficult. Previously, Hansen did not have the time to learn. So when he read it, it meant nothing to him. He now fully understood. He thought the Xianmen stuff was interesting. He kept reading it all, page by page, thinking it was quite fascinating. Ji Yanran watched Hansen ravenously flick through the pages. It did not look as if he was reading it all seriously, so she said, "You are flicking through the pages very quickly. Do you really understand what you're reading?" Chapter 34:14 Special Genius. As Hansen read, he spoke in a very excited manner. "I should be able to understand a little." It did not matter if he was to make food or study books. They were the sort of tasks Hansen had never been good at. Now Hansen was performing really well with all the stuff he was supposed to be bad at. If that was the with light and dust level Mr. White talked about, to Hansen, it was an unimaginable boon. Mr. White said my body can be used in any field. Does that mean my body will become a genius that is talented in everything? No matter what I do or what I learn, will I be better than others? Hansen read the Xianmen hidden real explanation and came to understand Xianmen a whole of a lot more. He had tried learning it for many years, but now he was understanding it a lot more. Although reading that book did not mean he had learned Xianmen, it was not like before when he only knew a small amount. He closed the book and looked at Ji Yanran's face. He looked at Ji Yanran and felt bad. "What are you looking at?" Ji Yanran reached out her hands and pushed Hansen. She felt bad. "I am looking at your face." Hansen did not look away. He reached out his hands and touched Ji Yanran's jaw. He smiled. "You know how to look at people's faces, don't you?" Ji Yanran looked at Hansen with shock. In the Xianmen, faces were not an aspect of superstition. There was a skill that allowed them to be observed, however. It was called be born from the heart. It was not like if one thought of evil things they looked ugly or thought of good deeds and looked dashing. Be born from the heart meant a person's temper and personality could affect one's face. For example, people who worked hard did not usually have much in the way of emotion. They loved frowning, so their foreheads tended to have more wrinkles. People who laughed a lot had more wrinkles around their eyes and mouth. To go deeper, if a person had a bad temper, their livers would be on fire. If they stayed up late, they developed a bad throat and bad nose. They got dark circles around their eyes and would lose their hair. All of life's experiences left traces on a person's face. They were traces others could see on a face. So one could use that as a foundation for judging a person. Knowing a face required a lot of knowledge, like one would need to study medicine and biology. They were the most basic fundamentals. Hansen used to learn some of this stuff. Because he thought it was too much trouble and a big waste of time, he didn't bother learning it. Hansen, who was half a Xianmen student looking from the outside in, was not as accurate as the average fortune teller one might find on the street. As Hansen looked at Ji Yanran's face, he saw her in a completely different light. In the past, he could not identify and register the traces. Now they were illuminated in front of him. It was reminiscent of the phrase, "When you are inside a circle, you are looking inside. When you are outside, you are always just looking for the heat." Now Hansen could see something that was technically inside him. "Sure. Now tell me what you see in my face." Ji Yanran removed Hansen's hand. She put her face in front of Hansen and looked at him with interest. 4 days ago, Little Flower went to the Alliance, right? Hansen asked with a smile. Ji Yanran looked at Hansen's face and asked, "Did you get all of that just from looking at my face?" Hansen reached out his finger and touched Ji Yanran's lips. There was a lighter color on Han Sen's finger. Han Sen said with a smile, "This is the lipstick you always use. This brand can only be found in the Alliance, and at the latest. It has only been out for 4 days. I bet the manager will deliver the newest thing to our house. Only Little Flower can fetch the lipstick from the Alliance for you." After thinking a moment, Ji Yanran asked, "How do you know for sure that it was Little Flower who went back to the Alliance? Maybe it was yesterday, or perhaps it was 2 days ago." "No." Han Sen shook his head with certainty. "You really like to focus on your appearance, but you don't do makeup. Usually, you focus on skincare to moisture your face and give it a subtle sheen. This lipstick is the product you always use. There is nothing more than that. Every time there is a new product, you always make sure to try it out first." Ji Yanran looked at Han Sen and smiled. She did not speak. It made Han Sen feel a bit worried. "Why are you looking at me like that? Am I right or not?" "I did not expect this," Ji Yanran said, with a roll of her eyes. "You even know what sort of lipstick I use. How did I not know you cared about me that much?" "What does that mean? You are my wife. How could I not care about you? I just never told you I do." Han Sen held Ji Yanran by the waist as he spoke. Ji Yanran squeezed his waist and said, "Stop talking crap. Tell me, did you really learn how to read people's faces? What else did you see? I could see my father-in-law has not been doing so well. He must have gotten bullied by my mother-in-law." Han Sen looked at Ji Yanran's face as he spoke. Ji Yanran opened her eyes wide and asked, "How can you know that? That is not something difficult to know. The necklace around your neck belongs to your mother-in-law." Han Sen explained the story. It shocked Ji Yanran. Ji Yanran then asked Han Sen something. He was able to answer her smoothly. From what he saw of her body, he could predict a lot of stuff. Even what she did daily could be seen. It gave Ji Yanran quite the shock. She had learned how to read people too. After a long, arduous time of learning it, she had only grasped a bit. She was better than Han Sen before, but Han Sen was far better than her now. "Did you really read all of the Xianmen hidden real explanation?" Ji Yanran looked at Han Sen with a doubting look. "I would not say I read it all," Han Sen said. "I read about half of it." "You would not be researching it secretly without me knowing, would you? After you understood it, you came here and put on a show just to one-up me." Ji Yanran found it hard to believe that Han Sen had only read it once and understood it so well. It takes 10 years of hard work off the stage to go up on stage for 1 minute. And that is how it is for a commoner. Your husband is a unique genius. I do not need to practice for 10 years. I only need a moment to be up on stage. Han Sen looked cocky. "I do not believe you." Ji Yanran did not believe it. She pulled out another Xianmen document and presented it to Han Sr. "This is a smaller book. You should go and read it. If you can understand what is in this, I will believe you are a genius." "Dear, it is bad to not trust your husband," Han Sen said. "I only trust my own judgment," Ji Yanran said while curling her lips. "Men cannot be trusted. They are liars and cannot be trusted." Han Sen said, "What you are saying is wrong. I am not like any other man." "Yes, you are right," Ji Yanran seriously said. "You are more untrustworthy than the average man." Han Sen's mouth opened wide. He had suddenly been rendered speechless. He rolled his eyes and laughed. "Fine, I will read this smaller book. If I understand everything, you will have to pay me back with something." "What do you want?" Ji Yanran asked with a blink. Han Sen grinned. He whispered something to Ji Yanran. It made Ji Yanran's face turn red. She madly pinched Han Sen's waist and replied, "You go to hell." "What? Are you afraid? Do you not want to bet? Do you not trust yourself now? You know your husband is a genius, therefore, you are afraid." Han Sen lifted his lips. Ji Yanran gnashed her teeth and said, "I am not afraid. We can make the gamble. I do not believe you can just read this book once and learn it all." Chapter 34:15 Challenging Qin Xiu. The next morning, Han Sen woke up from his dreams. Ji Yanran's body was soft. She looked boneless on his body. She had slept well. It looked as if she was very tired after what they had done the night before. Hansen kissed Ji Yanran's cheek and felt very proud. The previous night, he read the smaller book about Xianmen once. It made Ji Yanran keep her promise to spend a good night with him. For Hansen, it was not just that it was amazing. His body was very strange. Even during sex, it was very special. It was like he understood more than before. A gentle touch was enough to drive Ji Yanran crazy. Does that mean my body has reached that level? Hansen was very happy. He felt as if nothing in the world could stop him. He got out of bed, put some clothes on, and left the house. He wanted to try out something he was not very good at to see if his body would adjust well to it. After opening the door of the house, he saw a light in the sky. The Geno tablet was lighting up again. Someone has challenged a leader's seat. Hansen raised his head and looked shocked. The light in the sky that was shining was of the 17th sky, where Qin Xiu was. Who wants to challenge Qin Xiu? Hansen looked at the Geno tablet. He wanted to see who had the audacity to challenge Qin Xiu. He could not think of anyone in the universe who would be willing to do such a thing. Hansen was not the only one who was confused by this. Many elites in the Geno Hall and the God Chaos Party were in shock too. They could not imagine who might have wanted to challenge Qin Xiu now. Quickly, the Geno tablet displayed an image of the 17th sky. Qin Xiu and another shadow appeared on the screen. It is her. When Hansen saw the shadow, he recognized who it was. It was a beautiful woman. She was so pretty that she did not seem like a human. It was hard to make people think of her in a wrong way. It is Moon God of the Witch. Why would she challenge Qin Xiu? Hansen was very confused, but no one could provide him with an answer to the riddle. It is her. It is her. Wang Yuhang's voice was heard from afar. He was shouting as he approached. Hansen walked up to him and asked, "What do you mean it is her? Do you know who she is?" Wang Yuhang quickly said, "When I was trapped in the 33 skies, she was the woman who saved me. But she wrecked me pretty good. I vowed to exact my revenge on her." "I think you should stay away from her," Hansen said with a wry smile. Wang Yuhang looked as if he had been slighted. "I was unable to beat her, but my super god spirit body has evolved into ultimate mode now. I should have what it takes to defeat her." "Do you have any idea who she is?" Hansen asked with a smile. "I do not care who she is. If I see gods, I kill gods. If I see a Buddha, I kill a Buddha." Wang Yuhang was screaming. "Her name is Moon God," Hansen said. "Just like Han Yufei, they are witches from many years ago. But Han Yufei is weaker among all other witches. Moon God is one of the strongest witches." Wang Yuhang stopped talking. In Space Garden, not many people put fear into Wang Yuhang's heart. Bauer was one such person though. Linger was another. It was Han Yufei he was afraid of the most, however. Han Yufei frequently tested Wang Yuhang. He was scared just hearing her name spoken. Cough. Cough. "We are both victims. You should have mentioned that sooner." Wang Yuhang immediately agreed with Han Senator. He looked around, scanning their surroundings. He was now afraid Han Yufei was in the immediate area. He did not want her to hear what he had just said. "Who are you with?" A voice was heard outside the door. It made Wang Yuhang's legs go soft. He had to grab a hold of Han Sen's arm as not to fall over. Han Yufei then came out from the nearest door. She looked at Wang Yuhang as if she was smiling, but she was not actually smiling. Wang Yuhang quickly said, "Sister Yufei, I was just joking. Sister Moon God is the same race as you, so that would make her my sister as well. Not to just trick me, but even if she wanted my heart on a platter, I would willingly end my life and give it to her." Wang Yuhang was really afraid of Han Yufei. He was afraid Han Yufei was going to conduct even more tests on him. Although Han Yufei was not in the mood to deal with him now, he looked at Han Sun and asked, "Why would Moon God challenge Qin Xiu?" "I should be the one asking you that," Han Sun said. "Why has she gone to challenge Qin Xiu? You guys are from the same race, so you should be able to understand more than me." Han Yufei shook her head and said, "Qin Xiu broke the barriers of the universe to reach the Geno universe. His body was repelled by the universe, and he was suppressed by the Geno Hall. My race is the one that saved him and allowed him to continue living. Although we only did this on behalf of Wanner back then, Moon God fought the god spirits because of it. She did so to keep him alive. She saved his life. Even if Qin Xiu became the new universe leader, he would not do anything to Moon God. I do not know why Moon God has moved to challenge him. Do you think Moon God has what it takes to challenge Qin Xiu in combat? Han Sen thought Moon God might stand a chance. Qin Xiu was powerful, but the witches were not bad either. Back then, the leaders of the God Chaos Party and Geno Hall made a life form. One of them was human alpha. That was the first Qin Xiu. The other life form was the alpha of the witch race. Han Sen did not know what the witch alpha was called. He did not know if they were even alive anymore. Judging from all this, the blood of a witch was enough to fight Qin Xiu. Moon God was the best out of all the witch race, so perhaps she did have enough power to battle Qin Xiu. Otherwise, with her personality, why else would she challenge Qin Xiu? I don't know. Han Yufei shook her head. In the 17th sky, Moon God stepped forward. She was like a god walking in the pale moonlight. She did not wield any fire. If a sky full of creatures did not know what this fight meant, they would think she was merely playing around. Qin Xiu looked at Moon God. He did not look as full of himself as usual. He bowed and said, "Sister Moon, it has been many years. How are you?" A sky full of creatures was shocked. They did not think there was another person who could make Qin Xiu behave like this. Moon God coldly said, "But now I am not doing so good. Who dared to make you upset?" Qin Xiu smiled at her. "It was you," Moon God coldly said. Qin Xiu knew she was going to say that. He did not bite back. He merely said, "If I made you upset, you can just beat me. I will not fight back." "Do you think I will feel guilty for you saying that?" Moon God coldly asked. "That is not what I meant," Qin Xiu seriously said. "Sister Moon, you are always so good to me and my sister. If you want to kill me, I will not fight back." Chapter 34 16 Palms Moon God coldly said, "You do not need to talk so much crap. We don't owe each other favors anymore. If Wanner had not begged for your life, I would not have cared if you had died right in front of me. In that case, I will return the favor for Wanner," Qin Xiu said. "How dare you speak her name?" Moon God coldly said. "If I knew you would turn out to be such a heartless person, I would have rather upset her than save your life." Han Sen now understood why Moon God wanted to fight Qin Xiu. Qin Xiu wanted to revive his real sister, Qin Wanner. The witch Wanner was Qin Wanner reincarnated, but she was not Qin Wanner. The reborn Qin Wanner, who had the soul of the witch Wanner, was sacrificed. That was something the witch and Moon God could not accept. Qin Xiu's personality was, at the very least, one with a lot of determination. The witch Wanner was super nice to him, but he was still really stubborn about wanting to revive Qin Wanner. He did not hesitate to sacrifice the witch version of Wanner. Han Sen could not tell if Qin Xiu was right or wrong in this, but to witch Wanner, Qin Xiu was a sinful man. "If Moon God wants to punish Qin Xiu, please do it," Qin Xiu coldly said. "I will not fight back." "Good. I want to see what you have spent the past many years learning. I want to see how you can dare say what you are saying directly in front of me." Moon God looked very cold. She waved her hand and looked as if she was going to palm Qin Xiu. Moon God and Qin Xiu were a few thousand feet apart. Moon God was not fast. She pushed her palm out slowly. It did not seem scary, and there did not seem to be a powerful light carrying it. This palm is called ice. Her palm was like jade or crystal. It was like it had been made from an ice jade statue. It was so pretty that it was heavenly. It was like the best product of the earth. People would have thought that palm was like light. It seemed powerless. It did not touch Qin Xiu. It was a few thousand feet away from him. It did not look like a threatening move. They thought Moon God was not going to be able to hurt Qin Xiu. Han Sen's eyes suddenly turned bright. He saw the real behavior of the Cold Sutra. His jade skin came from Moon God's Cold Sutra. People could not see the amazing thing they should have witnessed, but he could. With Moon God's powerless palm in the air, Qin Xiu's body formed frost. He was frozen in ice and jade. He became an ice jade statue. Han Sen thought the sheep fairy's hollow structure was amazing. Compared to Moon God, the sheep fairy's hollow structure was far inferior. Moon God's ice jade structure was mysterious. It was like it was forever crystal. Even the world's strongest power would not be able to break her ice jade seal. The ice jade crystal was also using a special way to minimize itself. The freezing power became deeper, and the ice jade became more concentrated. If this continued, Qin Xiu's body would become dust because of the ice jade. In the next second, Han Sen heard a catch a noise. The so-called forever ice jade crystal had a crack. The crack was spreading. It spread through the whole ice jade crystal. Pang! A sky full of crystal jade slices went everywhere. The crystallized Qin Xiu body shattered. Qin Xiu's face appeared. Qin Xiu was standing where he was. He did not move, but Moon God used her Cold Sutra sealing power at max. It was unable to hurt him. Qin Xiu is very powerful. When Han Sen was able to use a Geno art, and when he was the best at using jade skin, he was still inferior to Moon God. Even Moon God's attacks did not work on Qin Xiu. Han Sen's jade skin would likely fail if he used it. Of course you are strong. It is no wonder you look down on everything now. Moon God was still very cold. The coldness in her eyes became colder. Thank you, Sister Moon, Qin Xiu said. If you want to do this again, just do it. There is no point in you trying to provoke me this way, Moon God coldly said. I will return the 3 palm for honor. Earlier was just the first one. There are another 2 to come. If Sister Moon thinks this is fun, then not just 3 palm strikes will do. You can do 300 or even 3,000, and I will be happy to oblige. Qin Xiu sounded oddly sincere. Humph. Moon God coldly grunted. She seemed to hate the things Qin Xiu was saying. Her hands, which looked like beautiful jade, were palming into Qin Xiu's chest. This time, Moon God used her left hand. This hand was completely different from the other hand. The palm from earlier was so cold and heartless that it froze everything. The main power was a cold sealing power. Moon God's second palm was not cold. The hand was like crystal or jade. It looked like it was carved out of the most beautiful jade stone statue. The jade-looking palm cut through space. It destroyed the space it traversed. Wherever the hand touched, it was destroyed. The destructive powers were very strong. They were stronger than Han Sen's reverse the story of genes. This palm is called Jade Shatter, Moon God coldly said. When the palm went forward, its presence was felt across the universe. The jade hand was on Qin Xiu's black crystal armor. The black crystal armor was delivered a crack. Moon God's jade palm went into the armor. This was the first time Han Sen had seen a crack develop on the black crystal armor, but that palm was unable to break the black crystal armor. It only left a mark on it that was the shape of a hand. Qin Xiu lowered his head and looked at the palm on his chest. He sighed. Sister Moon, you are much stronger after being reincarnated. This jade shatter is something not even a sky full of god spirits could repel. A god base would be instantly destroyed by this. I must say, I am looking forward to your 3rd palm strike. While he spoke, the palm marking on the black crystal armor recovered. Moon God ignored what he had said and coldly said, there is no need for you to look forward to it because you will see it now. After that, Moon God reached out her hands. She did not unleash another palm at Qin Xiu. She put her hands together with her fingertips facing each other. She made a circular gesture in the air. Moon God raised her hands. The hollow circular part was aimed at Qin Xiu. She coldly said, this palm is called Moon Break. After Moon God said that, Qin Xiu's face changed. Qin Xiu had been standing there the whole time, not moving an inch. Now he was actively retreating. He was too late. A buzzing noise sounded. A whole portion of space vanished where Qin Xiu was. It was like the time and space there had been dug away and deleted. Qin Xiu had been a step too close. The black crystal armor on his arm had been eaten by the force of that power. Most of the arm armoring and the muscles of his arm had been torn off. They vanished with the collapsed part of space. It was like a big, scary, invisible mouth had ripped his arm off. Chapter 34-17 Reboot Class Sister Moon. You have already maxed out and broken the world. I must congratulate you. Qin Xiu's face did not change. He did not seem to care about the wounds on his arm. He looked sincere in his bow and congratulations to her. As he bowed, the wounds on his arm and the broken black crystal armor had already recovered. No trace of the wounds he had just incurred was found. Han Sen frowned in thought. The Geno prototype armor has a real body inside it. What does this mean? Did Qin Xiu give up his body and use a pure spirit body to enter the Geno prototype armor? If this was true, there should not be any actual body inside it. I must congratulate you as well, Moon God coldly said. It looks like you did it. You reached reboot level. You made your body. This is as I expected all along. There is nothing particular joyous or special about this. But tell me, Sister Moon, do you still want to fight me? Qin Xiu was neither happy nor sad. He looked like this was what was always supposed to happen. I said that I would deliver 3 palms, and now I have delivered my 3 palms, Moon God said. You do not need to try me. She then walked away. She broke space and departed the 17th sky. The 33 skies by Sima was unable to stop her exit. When Moon God left, the shadow of the Geno tablet faded away. The 17th sky returned to how it used to be. No weird lights continued to shock the sky and all that jazz. Hansen felt a little strange after bearing witness to that encounter. He did not know why Moon God did not attack him more. She was very high profile and had gone all the way up there to fight him. Yet she had only wanted to attack the man 3 times. It did not seem as if that was something Moon God would do. While Hansen was lost in thought, he saw the space in front of him ripple like water. A beautiful body like a mirror flower water moon was spreading through space ahead like a shockwave. It was Moon God arriving, the one who had just struck Qin Xiu 3 times. Han Yufei looked at Moon God. She looked a bit shy. She stood straight and called out her name politely. Sister Moon. Little Yufei, you are still so lazy. With your potential, if you were not glued to your research all the time, your accomplishments and strength would be no inferior to mine. Moon God sounded as if she was trying to lecture her, and as if she had raised her all her life but had failed. Our paths were always meant to diverge, Han Yufei said while lifting the frame of her black glasses. She stared at Moon God. It does not mean the path you walked was right and mine was wrong. Whatever. It is good enough to learn that you are happy. Since you were young, I was never able to control or steer you in any particular direction that wasn't your own. After saying that, Moon God proceeded to ignore Han Yufei. She looked at Hansen and said, Have you learned my 3 palms? Hansen was shocked and asked, The 3 times you hit Qin Xiu, was that something you actually wanted to show me? So have you learned them? Moon God asked again. I understand a bit of what you showcased, but even if I did understand them fully, it would be pointless. My body has a problem. Thus, I will be unable to use them. Hansen had to answer her this way. He was just trying to be polite, but he actually understood what he had seen completely. The 3 palms were 3 different levels of the Cold Sutra. The first 2 levels were called Ice and Jade Shatter. Hansen was able to do those. The last one he saw was Moonbreak. It should have been something Moon God had created after she reached a break world rate of 100. Hansen was able to understand it just fine, but his body would not allow him to use it whenever he pleased. Moon God asked, Have you been able to understand Qin Xiu's power yet? I understand some, but not all of it, Hansen said. His body was only created when he reached Reboot class, isn't that right? Moon God nodded and said, Yes, that is correct. Upon reaching Reboot class, it means he has achieved an undying body. Even without a god temple or a base, he can infinitely reboot. He can reset his body to a certain time and space. No matter what kind of damage he takes, his body will be rebooted to that time. So no matter how strong your powers are, you are unable to kill him. You can make his body turn into nothing, but he can still return to the time he was first able to revive. After briefly thinking, Hansen asked, Is there no other way to kill him? Like, can we use time power and prohibit him from going back to that time? Rebooting is not a simple time power, Moon God said. Even if you achieved mastery over time and space powers, you cannot affect his reboot powers. Otherwise, why else do you think only reboot class people can assert control over the Geno Hall? Why would they be the ones labeled the masters of the universe? Reboot class means you have an immortal body. In this entire world, there are only 5 people who are reboot class. There are 5. Hansen looked at Moon God. He could not imagine how there could be 5 such people. Moon God said, In the past, The Geno Hall leader was the only Reboot God spirit. He was the first, and he was the beginning of the Reboot class. Without him, there could not be another 4 Reboot class people. After a pause, Moon God said, "The second Reboot class person is someone you seem to know rather well. That person is Bauer, who happens to have that leader's blood. She will become Reboot class. It is only a matter of time before she does. The third person is the current God Hall leader. Before the old leader rebooted the universe, he put his power into the Geno Hall. He controlled the Geno Hall, and that is why the universe has been able to maintain peace for so long." So, are you saying the fourth is Qin Xiu? If that is so, who might the fifth person be? Han Sen asked. If you knew Qin Xiu was Reboot class, then you should also know who that person is. Moon God said to Han Sen with a smile. Can you not guess the other Reboot class person? Which alpha? Han Sen's heart jumped as he said it out. Back in the day, whoever earned the leader's blood was not just a human alpha. There was the alpha of the witch, but Han Sen did not know what happened to the witch alpha. Han Sen peered at Moon God's face. He knew he was correct, so he asked, "Is the witch alpha still alive? Is she still here in the current incarnation?" Moon God smiled. Do you think Qin Xiu only let me hit him because he owes me a favor? Are you saying he is afraid of the witch alpha? Han Sen's heart was shaking. That is only half correct. He needed to return a favor to me, but he was also scared. However, the witch alpha is dead. Now there is only Tai Yi of the witch. When Moon God mentioned those 2 words, Tai Yi, she looked a bit cocky. Tai Yi is the witch alpha in a reincarnated form. Han Sen's mouth opened wide. He remained frozen for quite a while. Moon God sighed. Not exactly. The witch alpha died and was reincarnated. When she was reincarnated, there was a problem. Her soul split into 2. Tai Yi is one of those halves. Was it really split in 2? In that case, the other one. Han Sen wanted to ask who it was, but then he thought about someone. He screamed and asked, "Is the other one Sky God King Kun? You seem to know a lot, but King Kun is of the witch." Moon God looked at Han Senator. She was surprised he knew about the existence of Sky God King Kun. Han Sen knew who King Kun was, but he was shocked all the same. He did not believe the allegation, so he said, "That can't be right. King Kun and Tai Yi are different. How could he be another half of the soul of the witch alpha?" Moon God sighed. Sometimes an identity does not mean anything. Even though he is half of the witch alpha incarnate, he might not be able to reach the end. But that is fine. King Kun does not matter as it is the business of the witch. You do not need to be involved. Tai Yi will handle it. After pausing, Moon God said to Han Sen, "You saw my 3 palms. You saw Qin Xiu's body. This is good. Use my 3 palms to practice with Bauer. If she can evade Moonbreak, she can battle Qin Xiu. Otherwise, do not bother joining the Geno tablet fights." Chapter 34-18 Special Occasion. I would like to practice with Bauer, but I am afraid my body will not allow it, Han Sen said with a wry smile. I watched your fight with Moment God. Your body has evolved sufficiently to make use of the Cold Sutra. As Moon God spoke, she checked Han Sen out. It is a rather difficult situation to explain. My body does have a problem though. I can only use the strength I need to use when I am provoked by adversarial powers. Usually, I am quite harmless. Han Sen explained the situation to her. When Moon God heard what he had to say, she frowned sternly and continued checking Han Sen out. Eventually, she said, "What you are saying is that you are stronger when you fight something stronger. As in, if the enemy is stronger, you will become stronger." I guess that is what I meant. Han Sen confirmed with a nod. I must confess, that is rather interesting. That means if I put power onto you, you will become as strong as me. Moon God squinted her eyes. It was hard to determine what she was thinking about. I am not too sure about that because I do not know how strong I can become when I encounter strong opponents, Han Sen said. In that case, let's test your limits to the fullest. I can try to hit you 3 times. Moon God tried this the moment she spoke. She had only just said that, and she had already used her palms to attack Han Senator. That palm was the ice attack she used before. Moon God's palm quickly came near Han Sen. His body immediately became tense. His skin and bones became ice jade crystals. He threw a palm out toward Moon God. The skill he used was like the ice one Moon God had just used. Two hands looked like icy jades, and they were quietly going to collide with each other. The temperature in the area was falling fast. Wang Yuhang and Han Yufei retreated for a moment. If they weren't fast enough, their bodies would be frozen by the sudden clash of frosty powers. Han Sen's and Moon God's palms collided. An icy air arose from their hands. Han Yufei and Wang Yuhang, in much shock, noticed Moon God's hands were coated in frost that was spreading all across her body. Han Sen, on the other hand, was totally fine. No frost or icy air was harming him. He looked the same as he always did. Han Sen's ice is better than Sister Moon's ice. Han Yufei was shocked by what she was witnessing, but she was also happy. If my child has these sort of genes, I wonder how strong it will be ere the end. Moon God was shocked by this too. She was the one who created the Cold Sutra. Now, she was at the 100% ceiling of breaking the world. In that universe, many people were close to breaking the world, but very few could maximize their break world rate. Han Sen's ice was stronger than her break world ice. Even Moon God could hardly believe this to be true. Let me try my jade shatter. Moon God pulled back her hand. The palm of her other hand came rushing to strike Han's senator. She reduced her power output to the smallest, so one could not feel the jade hand possess any power. Moon God's jade shatter was unleashed, so Han Sen's body adjusted. He used the same skill she did. The same jade shatter was returned upon Moon God's hand. The two white, jade-like hands palmed together. The power was small, so not much movement was created. Between the two hands, a fragment of space collapsed. Catcha! Moon God's jade hand was delivered a crack. It was going to crack, yet Han Sen's hands were totally fine. Even his jade shatter power is greater than Sister Moon. Han Yufei was well and truly surprised by this. Moon God was shocked too. She fell back and looked at her hands. She saw a few small lines. If she kept going, her hand would undoubtedly be shattered by Han Sen's countering force. Your body is strong. Now try and endure my moon break. Moon God frowned. She did not believe Han Sen was able to use her best power to beat her. The two hands collided to create a circular shape. The center had a focal point that was aimed at Han's senator. A scary power gathered up inside the hand-formed ring. Almost at the same time, Han Sen did the same thing. He put his hands together in a circular shape and aimed at Moon God. There was a weird power inside his hands now. A scary power exploded between Han Sen and Moon God. The space between them was like it was being consumed by an invisible and quiet monster. They were 30 feet apart. After that moment, the two of them were standing next to each other. Their ringed hands combined. Pang! Moon God's hands were bounced away by some force of power. She took a few stumbled steps back to try and stabilize her body. She looked at Han Sen with a look of sheer disbelief. Her mouth could not utter a single word. Han Yufei's pretty eyes were whelmed by surprise. The more powerful Han Sen's body was showcased how much stronger her own child would be. After a while, Moon God could not help but ask, "What is up with your body?" She could not believe Han Sen was able to beat her with what she was best at. She had never dreamed something like this could be possible. "I want to know what happened to my body too." Han Sen shrugged his shoulders. He looked as if he had been wronged or something. Moon God looked as if she was thinking about something by the way she now peered at Han's senator. She addressed Han Yufei and said, "Yufei, you must have done some research on his body. Did you find anything out? What are the results?" "I did research his body," Han Yufei confessed. "The results? You have to let me see them." Moon God reached her hands out. "Therein is a problem," Han Yufei said while shaking her head. "There are no conclusive results." "What do you mean there weren't any conclusive results?" Moon God asked with a frown. After thinking a moment, Han Yufei said, "Do not look at me like that. There really was nothing to be discovered. His genes cannot be analyzed. I used the most advanced technology and power at my disposal, but nothing I tried seemed to work. His genes are like stones that cannot be broken by the mightiest tool. I do not have the answers we are all looking for. From what I am best able to tell, The evolution of Sanmu's genes has exceeded even Qin Xiu. No way, Moon God said with a frown. Why not? Han Yufei asked. You cooperated with Qin Xiu. You should know his history. He has a Reboot God Spirit gene. His genes are atop a pyramid. Aside from Bauer, not even Tai can compete against him. Moon God did not think Han Sen's genes were as good as Qin Xiu's. I do not think so. With evolution comes an innumerable number of possibilities. Qin Xiu's genes are great, but you cannot deny the possibility that there exists another creature that is greater than he. Han Sen could seriously be the one. Han Yufei doubled down on her own opinion. Moon God looked at Han Sen weirdly. There are special occasions where such a thing can come to pass, but these special occasions are all based on something. Han Sen does not have the genes of a past life. All of his evolution came from this life. To become better than Qin Xiu in such a short amount of time is too much. Chapter 34:19 The Geno tablet fights begin maybe. Han Yufei did not argue, but everyone was able to tell Moon God had been unable to convince her. Moon God did not carry on with this subject. She addressed Han Sen and said, You are good. Your body is strong. I cannot say for certain that you are greater than Qin Xiu, but in this universe, you certainly rank amongst the best. Few could ever hope to rival you. With the way your body is, fighting alongside Bauer would be beneficial. You could aid her a lot. After Han Sen thought about it, he thought what she said made sense. With Bauer's power, she would be able to activate the power inside Han Sen's body. Perhaps he could see where the limitations of his body resided. We are only 4 days away from the Geno tablet fights, Moon God said. You should make the most of the time you have to practice. I will be leaving. I hope I will see you guys live. She then walked away. She did not try to stay. After a few steps, she vanished into thin air without a trace. Han Sen wanted to go back to the sanctuaries to find Bauer. Han Yufei stopped him and asked, Han Sen, what are you planning on doing? I do not know what I can even do. I think I will go back to the sanctuaries. It is as Moon God said. I should use my body to fight Bauer. Perhaps I will be able to help her. Han Sen was half lying and half speaking the truth. Han Yufei's eyes were like a pair of sharp blades. It was like her vision was slicing up Han Sen's heart. She smiled coldly and proceeded to ask, Is this about you helping Bauer, or will Bauer be helping you? Is there a difference between the two? Han Sen was shocked, but he pretended to remain calm. Han Yufei looked at him with disdain. With your personality being what it is, I do not think you will permit Bauer to take the risk. I don't think you ever planned on allowing Bauer to participate in the Geno tablet fights. You will get Bauer to fight you for your sake. She will help you. It is not you helping her. Wang Yuhang, who was on the sidelines, laughed loudly. He did not say anything, but he obviously agreed with the assessment. Can I be seen through that easily? Han Sen asked with a wry smile. Wang Yuhang smiled. Do I have to explain it to you? We have known each other for a very long time, and I know exactly what kind of person you are. Things like this should not be guessed. Fine. You guys do whatever you want. I am going back to the sanctuaries for the time being. Han Sen felt bad as he bid them goodbye. Han Yufei patted him on the shoulder and said, Do not worry, you can go. Even if you die, all will be fine. Your genes and blood pulse will live on. Han Sen thought Han Yufei meant what she said purely because of the fact he already had kids, so he did not think too much about what she said to him. I do not want to die yet. Stop cursing me, okay? I am leaving. Do not mention anything about this to the others. After Han Sen gave them a warning, he waved goodbye and returned to the sanctuaries. Han Sen wanted to fight Bauer and obtain a better understanding of himself, but chaos denied Han Sen's desire. She said Bauer and the gene seed were in a critical time, and that combination was very much nigh. She had to focus on her combination with the gene seed. There was no time for Han Sen to meddle and get involved. Han Sen felt pretty glum about that, so he gave up on his proposed idea. He tried doing something else to understand his body more. If Han Sen had counted on luck and effort in the past, his genes now made him into some sort of super genius. No matter what he did, he could just learn things. He released Holy Pirate and played a game of chess with him. He beat him 19 times in a row. Even though Han Sen was not very good with music, learning an instrument sounded much simpler. He was quickly able to learn all sorts of songs and melodies. It was like he had swiftly become a musical maestro. Even Feng Fei and Feng Yin thought Han Sen's musical talents were beyond incredible. They thought the Han Sen they were seeing was someone else in disguise. Being too smart is actually troublesome. Han Sen soon found out that everything was fast becoming a bore. In the past, everything he did was new, so losing was fine by him. Now no matter what Han Sen did he could not lose. Everything was boring to him now. Many of the things Han Sen once found interesting were now dreary and dull. He was no longer in the mood to do them. For days went sluggishly by. Han Sen did not make much progress in the realm of understanding himself. He only knew his body was able to be the best at whatever he sought to do, but he still did not know where his limitations, if there were any, lay. He still did not know. Never mind. When I fight Qin Xiu, I will know where the limitations of my body reside. Han Sen looked at the clock. The Geno fights were on the cusp of starting. Bauer had yet to combine with the Gene seed. Han Sen felt relieved by that. That is good. Bauer has not combined yet. She will not be able to take part in the Geno tablet fights. That has saved me a lot of trouble. Han Sen looked at Bauer and left the sanctuaries. Many of the elites in Space Garden were waiting for Han Senator. He picked up Linger. With Ji Yanran standing next to Little Flower, they waited for the Geno tablet fights to begin. Ji Yanran held Han Sen's hands. She lowered her head and said, "No matter what, you must make it back. You must remember that there are people waiting for you to come back. Do not worry. If I am unable to fight, I have a skill that enables a quick escape. In this world, not a single person can break that skill of mine." Ji Yanran rolled her eyes. She took out a pen and grabbed Han Sen's hand. She wrote down 3 names, Ji Yanran, Han Fei and Han Linger. Who is Han Fei? Han Sen was shocked. It was then that he remembered it was Little Flower's real name. If Ji Yanran had not written it down, Han Sen would have forgotten all about it. Ji Yanran lowered her head and said, "If you cannot hold on, just look at these 3 names." Han Sen would not have to look at Ji Yanran's eyes to know they were red. Tears were holding on, and trying their best not to fall. Do not worry. With you guys backing me up, there is not a single person that can kill me. Han Sen's heart was wanting a fight. Boom. Space suddenly lit up. The 33 skies unleashed a godlight. It was like a weird, bright, flickering light was coming out of a headstone. Atop the big gravestone-like structure was a Geno tablet. It glowed with a godlight. It could not be explained how weird it looked. Han Sen, Ningyu, and Wang Yuhang's bodies had some sort of power of attraction. They were pulled back into their skies in rainbow light. The names of 32 leaders flickered across the Geno tablet. The 32 names shone a sky full of worlds. The main and reverse universe creatures remembered this. Han Sen was brought back to Time Sky. The stone clocks of Time Sky were fixed to the hour of 12. The bell sounds shocked the sky and the ground. "This scene is so bad luck," Han Sen sadly said. "It is like it has sent me to my funeral." A beam of light came from the 33 skies. It shone on Han Sen, and took his body to the Geno tablet's 33rd sky. Chapter 34:20. Controlling the sky and the ground. All the names of all the 32 skies leaders lit up on the Geno tablet's face. When the names were lit up, the leader's shadow arose from the Geno tablet. It was like a demon god was floating in the 33 skies. It made a sky full of worlds see the leader's name and face. There were people there Han Sen knew. Besides Qin Xiu, there was also Human King, Big Sky Demon, Ancient Devil, Berry Path God, Wang Yuhang, Ningyu, Demon Alpha, and others who were all figures with whom Han Sen was well acquainted. The Geno tablet fights were a simple affair. The 32 leaders would be split up into teams and forced to kill each other. There would be 16 winners. Then the 16 would become 8, the 8 would become 4, and the 4 would become 2. The last 2 would square off to determine the final winner. Han Sen was hoping he could engage Qin Xiu in his first fight, and show his true trump card. He did not want to have to engage friends, and be forced to kill them. That would not be a favorable result to things. Things did not go how Han Sen wanted them to. The Geno tablet took Han Sen to the 33 skies. Before long, he noticed he was standing before Demon Alpha. When Demon Alpha saw Han Sen, she was given a fright. She did not expect her first fight would pit her against Han Senator. The other leaders had their own enemies to contest with. Although they were in the 33 skies, the Geno tablet's powers had split them up into 16 separate arenas. No one was able to enter the arenas of others. The creatures of the two universes watched. The creatures of the universe of kingdoms were watching Qin Xiu's fight. Although most people did not know Qin Xiu was Wu Wei Dao Alpha reincarnated, the Qin kingdom's name was still something that shocked the universe. It was held in very high regard far and wide. The creatures of the Geno universe were more interested in watching Han Sen and seeing what he would do. The name dollar was something embedded in the soul of every single living creature of the Geno universe. They wanted Han Sen to win no matter what. Berry Path God did not have much luck. When he saw his enemy, his face immediately became dim. His opponent was Qin Xiu, my favorite vice president. Qin Xiu looked at Berry Path God and coldly said, "Ah. So, are you going to fight me? I am here. It does not matter who I am forced to fight. I am not going to fall back and cower like a fool." While Berry Path God was talking, he waved his hand. A lot of stuff came flying out of his body. Many bronze objects such as stoves, tripods, pots and pans, bowls, and other types of stuff came flying out. They suppressed all 8 directions around him. They combined with the power of the 33 skies to glow with a god light and cover the whole arena. If Han Sen had seen these items, he would recognize them as the stuff chaos had left behind. Berry Path God was the one to receive them all. Now those items were glowing with a god light. They became a rainbow halo that suppressed the sky and the ground. They covered Qin Xiu too. Berry Path God, do you really think all of this stuff can be used to fight me? Qin Xiu put his hands in the air. He let the items release a godlight to shoot and fall upon him. They were brushed off with ease. They did nothing damaging. Berry Path God coldly said, "This stuff alone cannot fight you, but with this, things might be a little bit different." After that, Berry Path God waved his sleeves. A scroll came out of it. It displayed a picture. When the picture left Berry Path God's sleeves, it combined the sky and the ground. The battleground combined with the drawing. The battleground was inside the painting, and the painting was the battleground. Qin Xiu looked around and emotionlessly said, "You have the sky path painting." "Mr. Leader created this sky path painting because it would benefit me," Berry Path God said. "With the help of these other relics, the sky path painting can combine with the sky and the ground for me. The sky and the ground are now in my hands. Even if you have the power of a god, without the help of the universe, to use just your own power to fight me will not be enough." The whole of the sky and the whole of the ground listened and adhered to his command. The substance chains became a real dragon. They arose from the ground. It was like 10,000 dragons were stealing an orb. It was roaring at Qin Xiu. "Berry Path God is so powerful," a God Chaos Party elder remarked as he watched what Berry Path God was doing. He was in a lot of shock. He has used the sky and the ground for himself. Now the picture disconnects the powers and the rules from the outside. Qin Xiu looks like he is now fighting in Berry Path God's world. He will be restricted by the rules of that world, and unable to draw on power from the outside. It is hard to say who will win. People who did not think Berry Path God would win were now in shock. Berry Path God has achieved combining the sky and the path into one. Although he uses power from the outside, it is enough to shock the universe. Qin Xiu is in real trouble here. I thought this would be a boring fight, but Berry Path God seems to be doing better than anticipated. It is no wonder why he was considered a vice president of the God Chaos Party. Everyone thought they would witness a big fight, but Qin Xiu just raised his hand. When the hand spread its fingers, many substance chains became real dragons. They went to his hands. Then all the power in the sky and the ground went into his hands. It was like that place was not actually a hand. It was a bottomless black hole. All of the power from the sky and the ground was absorbed into Qin Xiu's hand. Berry Path God looked shocked. He madly exploded his power. He wanted to control the sky path painting, and the power of all the items to stop Qin Xiu. It was pointless to resist. The old items were flying to Qin Xiu's hands, as if he had an invisible big hand. They all went into his hands. Even the sky path painting was torn apart by the force of suction. It was like the sky and the ground was ripped to pieces by Qin Xiu's hands. The scariest thing about all of this was that Berry Path God's body was also drawn closer to Qin Xiu. His Berry Path power was leaking out of him like water. It was all going into Qin Xiu's hands. No. Impossible. Berry Path God tried his best, but he was unable to get away from the scary force of suction. His Berry Path power became weaker and weaker as his body was shriveled to become fragile. Berry Path God could not escape. He and the sky path painting went into Qin Xiu's hands as silence fell all around the arena. The elites of the two universes were all frozen. That was the vice president of the God Chaos Party. He had the power to shock the sky. He was one of the strongest beings in the universe, but he was unable to block Qin Xiu's hands. So scary. It is no wonder Qin Xiu almost ruled the universe of kingdoms. He is so strong. Berry Path God has been destroyed by Qin Xiu. In this Geno tablet fight, no one else will be able to take the #1 position. What about that guy from the Geno Hall? Can he stop Qin Xiu? I am only afraid that guy can stop Qin Xiu and no other. Suddenly, everybody thought Qin Xiu was really hard to beat. They thought he was as mighty as a god. Chapter 34-21. Fighting Demon Alpha. Han Sun and Demon Alpha looked at each other. Nobody struck first. I cannot believe my first opponent turns out to be you. Demon Alpha had a black lace veil covering her face as she coldly sighed. Back in the day, Ancient Devil had 8 generals. Were you one of them? Han Sun looked at Demon Alpha as he spoke. Yes. My name was Azura. I was one of the 8 generals operating under Ancient Devil's command. Demon Alpha swiftly confessed to this. She was not planning on hiding anything. If you were Azura, there is something I would like to ask you. Back in the day, the 8 generals and Ancient Devil killed an injured god. Can you clarify which sort of creature that being was? Would you be willing to tell me? Han Sun had always been thinking about this. He really wanted an answer, but Ancient Devil, who summoned the god, did not know what sort of god he ended up summoning either. The summoning was supposedly an accident in that Ancient Devil ended up summoning a creature he was not supposed to. He accidentally ended up summoning an injured god. You said it was an injured god, yet you still ask me what sort of creature it was, Demon Alpha coldly said. Why are you still asking me? Han Sun was shocked. Does that mean you guys killed a god spirit? Aside from the god spirits, what sort of race would have the audacity to also call themselves gods? Demon Alpha looked at him with disdain. Han Sun went silent. He then asked, what was the level of the god spirit? What was his title? If you manage to defeat me in combat, I will be willing to tell you. Demon Alpha's eyes looked extremely frosty. She raised her hand. It became a knife. It came slashing toward Han Senator. Her slash did not seem to have any power. It looked like a random slash. Han Sen's body reacted. His eyes looked weird. He saw the universe's most basic structures, and the cause power cogwheels spin. When his body evolved, he was unable to use the Dongxian Sutra anymore. Han Sen could not see the universe's cogwheels. Now he was able to see them as clearly as crystal. Yet how he saw them was different from before. In the past, the Dongxian aura's area enabled him to see things clearly. Now it was like whatever he saw enabled him to see the connections between the universal cogwheels. All of that was in his eyes. Han Sun reached out his hands. The cause universal cogwheels on him came to a stop. Without the cause power connection, Demon Alpha's Azura Sutra power did not work. Demon Alpha's random wave became a real wave. It did not have any power. It did not create any movement. The people watching could not understand what they were seeing. They thought Azura waved her hand, and nothing was happening. It was like she was just fooling around. I did not expect you would have any cause powers, Demon Alpha said. She looked at Han Sun with shock, but she was only a little bit shocked. Her powers were not just simply cause powers. She was taking this step, but it did not just depend on the Asura Sutra. I know a little. Hansen was a bit confused when it came to Asura. He did not strike. Seeing her not attack, he asked, "The Shura race are your heirs, yes?" "Kind of," Demon Alpha said. "What does kind of mean? Are you saying they are not?" Hansen looked at Demon Alpha with shock. He did not expect this was the kind of answer he was going to receive. "The Shura were created from my genes. They were used as a blueprint." Demon Alpha stared at Han Senator. She then went on to say, "I hope you will quit. You are strong, but you are not Qin Xiu's rival." Hansen looked at Demon Alpha and asked, "Am I not Qin Xiu's opponent?" "What? Do you think you can be the one to defeat him?" "At least I have a chance of taking him down," Demon Alpha said. "But you? You don't have any hope." Hansen was not mad. He looked rather calm as he asked her, "Tell me, where did this chance of yours come from?" "That is none of your business," Demon Alpha said. "You just need to know that by helping me, you are helping yourself. Stop wasting my power, quit, and fall back for now. The more of my power I keep, the greater the chance I have of beating Qin Xiu." Hansen looked at Demon Alpha with surprise. He did not know where her confidence in this regard had come from. "Are you going to quit or not?" Demon Alpha coldly asked. "I can quit, but you need to show me your strength." Hansen looked at Demon Alpha, wanting to know where her confidence came from. "That means we must fight," Demon Alpha said with a frown. "Of course we have to fight. Otherwise, how am I supposed to know you are bluffing me?" After pausing, Hansen said, "I do have a question I would like to ask. Are you willing to answer my question?" "That entirely depends on what it is you are going to ask," Demon Alpha coldly replied. "I know a mixed Shura that looks exactly like you. Do you know her?" Hansen looked at Demon Alpha with eyes that were on fire. "Did I not tell you that the Shura are a race based on my genes?" Demon Alpha asked. "What is so special for there to be one that looks like me?" "But this one looks exactly like you, and she is a human and Shura mix. That kind of Shura is certainly rare, is it not?" Hansen patiently explained things to her. "A human and Shura mix?" Demon Alpha frowned and said, "You are right. That is rare, but it is nothing special. Maybe a human or a Shura just wanted to conduct some tests." When Hansen saw that Demon Alpha did not seem to be lying, he thought, "Weird. Demon Alpha really does not know who Zero is. In that case, where did Zero come from? If you are not going to quit, we are going to have to fight. Stop wasting more of my time." When Demon Alpha spoke, she waved her hand at Hansen and tried slashing in his direction. Demon Alpha's jade hands kept slashing. Many Asura powers came slashing toward Han Senator. If this was another creature bearing the brunt of such forces, even if it was a top-class break world creature, they would be unable to dodge that cause power that never missed. But Hansen just held on to the cause universal cogwheel tight. The cause power would not land on him. Demon Alpha's attacks would all be made in vain. The scary Asura powers were useless in front of Han Senator. The elites watching this fight all looked at it weirdly. That was because they did not understand what was actually happening. Hansen and Demon Alpha stood 1,000 feet apart. Demon Alpha was waving her hands, but no visible power materialized. Hansen was not damaged either. It was like they were just rehearsing an act. What are these two doing? Are they faking a fight? The people in the universe of kingdoms could not watch this anymore. They did not seem to be fighting seriously. Demon Alpha knew her Asura powers were not working on Hansen, so she stopped attacking. Her black eyes peered at Hansen as she said, "I do not want to kill you, but you just had to get in the way. If I do this next attack, you will be dead. You will not even reincarnate. I suggest you quit now." Chapter 34:22. Cause God's Spirit, I am going to learn it. Hansen did not move. "If you insist on becoming my enemy, then you cannot take it out on me for being cruel," Demon Alpha said while looking at him coldly. She looked at him as if he was already a dead man. Hansen did not speak. He also didn't look as if he was going to move out of the way. It was not as if he did not want to. His body had not been triggered by his opponent's power yet. He did not have the power to kill Demon Alpha. When Demon Alpha looked at Han Senator, she did not raise her hand. In Han Sen's eyes, Demon Alpha looked different. A scary power arose from Demon Alpha's might. The power was weird around her body. It was a pure spirit power. It was not a break world power she was wielding. Han Sen was no stranger to this sort of power. The god spirits in the Geno Hall frequently use such powers. Demon Alpha is not a god spirit, so how does she command a god spirit's power? Did she consume the power a god spirit gave her? Han Sen frowned. He looked at Demon Alpha. A powerful god spirit power generated the shadow of a man by her. That shadow was so bright and holy that it commanded spirit power. It was like a god was protecting and shielding Demon Alpha's body. That shadow was too bright. All Han Sen could see was the face of a man. He could not see what he looked like though. Judging from his face, he looked different from the god spirits Han Sen knew. That's a very powerful cause power. Demon Alpha consumed a god spirit, so was it a god spirit with a command of cause elements? I wonder if she is the one that created the Azura Sutra since it is based on cause power. Han Sen's and the Shadow of Light's cause power were becoming stronger. He was pleasantly surprised. Han Sen thought Demon Alpha was strong enough already, but he had clearly underestimated what the Shura Alpha was capable of. Her spirit power clearly dwarfed Moment God. She was on a whole new playing field. Her god spirit powers are greater than Moment God's. What is the level of that god spirit? Han Sen kept thinking to himself. Moment God was a main god of the 12 annihilation god spirits. While she was not the strongest, she was certainly not the weakest. She was one of the few annihilation main gods that could fight. Now, Demon Alpha's god spirit power was way above what Moment God was capable of doing. Han Sen could not imagine what sort of god spirit had a god spirit power like that. As far as Han Sen knew, there was only one god spirit that was stronger than Moment God, but that person was not very easy to kill. It was a Reboot class god spirit. It was like it was nearly immortal. Ignoring the fact that the Azura and Ancient Devil were from the sanctuaries, even in the Geno universe and the universe of kingdoms, no creatures should have been able to consume him. Han Sen frowned and thought, if it is not that guy from the Geno Hall, and he has a powerful god spirit power, does such a powerful god spirit even exist? Even if it does exist, how can such a powerful god spirit find itself consumed by Azura, who is so weak? He could not think of a solution to this little riddle. Azura's body was covered by a god spirit light. The god spirit light was created by a cause power. Even if the Geno Hall's god spirits or the 33 Skies leaders did not know how to handle cause powers, they would not even see the light, let alone ordinary creatures. Cause powers were the most unique powers in the universe. Not many creatures had powers like that. Even the leader in the Geno Hall was unable to control cause powers. Only amidst the 12 annihilation main gods could one annihilation class main god control cause powers. It saw Demon Alpha's god spirit light, and its face turned white. How is this possible? How can someone in this world command such powerful cause powers with a pure god spirit power? Who is this Demon Alpha? How can she wield such cause spirit powers? That god spirit's eyes were glowing. He used his cause powers to the max, but he still could not see what that god spirit light was. The cause spirit power was too strong. His power only enabled him to see a spirit light. He was worse than Han Senator. He could not even see the shape of a man. Demon Alpha was like thunder. She looked at Han Sen from above and spoke to him. You have one more chance. Quit now, or you will be killed. You will not even be able to reincarnate. That Demon Alpha is way too cocky for her own good. She is the leader of the demons, but how can she hope to compare with Mr. Dollar? It is so pathetic to be that ignorant. How dare she talk to Mr. Dollar in such a way? Many of the high races in the Geno universe believed Demon Alpha was ignorant. They could not see Demon Alpha's god spirit light. They thought Demon Alpha was merely bluffing the entire time. They thought she was too cocky for wanting Han Sen to concede. Dollar's name was more certainly famous than Demon Alpha in the Geno universe. Many of the higher races in the Geno universe did not think Demon Alpha could defeat Han Senator, only that annihilation class main god was shaking his body. The power of Demon Alpha's cause spirit power was causing an annihilation class main god, who could wield the cause power element, to shake and quake. How is that possible? How is it possible that she has a cause spirit power that is stronger than mine? The god spirit stared at Demon Alpha, trying to figure something out, but he didn't have the courage to face a power like that. Hansen kept looking at Demon Alpha's god spirit shadow. He thought the shadow was rather familiar in some way or another. He just could not put a finger on where that sense of familiarity came from. 2-inch if I win, are you going to tell me which god spirit you consumed? Hansen was curious and really wanted to know the answer. Of course, Demon Alpha said. Whatever I have said is something I will not betray, but no longer will you find yourself capable of learning the truth. Her body's god spirit light shadow raised its arm, and slashed toward Han Senator Demon Alpha's Azura powers were already very scary. Compared to the god spirit light shadow's slash, it was like a firefly being compared to the moon. The god spirit light shadow's slash made all of spaces cause universal cogwheels to spin like mad. This was not the universal cogwheel's power being buffed in aid of Demon Alpha. This was Demon Alpha's power being forced to boost the whole universe's cause universal cogwheels. All the cause universal cogwheels, no matter if they were spinning clockwise or counterclockwise, all had to follow the god spirit light's power in spinning. That slash could reverse cause power. Ketcha. Hansen's hands touched the cause universal cogwheel. It could not hold two people's powerful power. While they were fighting, it cracked. Although the cause universal cogwheel shattered, the powerful cause power was still like a sky punishment knife coming down. It was like it was slashing 1,000 lifetimes worth of infinite cause. It ended thousands of millions of fates right there and then. Chapter 34-23. 3 possibilities in the God Temple of the Annihilation God Spirit. The cause element main god's body was trembling. The other creatures could not see the slash performed, but he knew that if he was hit by it, not only ordinary spirits but also Annihilation class God Temple main gods would be wiped from the history of the universe. They would be cleaned from the history books with no chance of ever recovering. Even the reviving power of a God Temple could not save a life that did not exist. Demon Alpha's slash was so powerful that it could erase cause powers. If the cause did not exist, how could there be such a result? Putting aside reincarnation, all traces and prior existences of the creature struck by this hit would be wiped from the records. He would cease to exist, forever and always. Even the memory of that being in the minds of creatures that knew him would vanish. It would be like that spirit never existed in the sky or on the ground. How scary would that cause power be? This is the level I have been looking for all my life, yet it is with someone who does not have a god spirit. Who is this Demon Alpha? The Annihilation main god looked terrible. Hansen could see the scary slash too. His body was currently not useful, but he could see everything clearly in the face of that powerful adversity. It was like he had everything under control. His body was able to deal with it naturally. Hansen did not fight back, because he still wanted to know the answer from Demon Alpha. Even if he killed Demon Alpha, that would still be useless for Han Senator. He needed Demon Alpha to live to be given the answer he needed. Hansen could not run Geno arts. When he needed power, his body made lots of different reactions and created the powers he would need. They were just like his body. Hansen did not move, but the invisible and powerful power still continued to spread. The universal cogwheels around Hansen's body stopped spinning. They put Hansen in an absolutely still space. It did not matter if the wind, fire, thunder, lightning, time, or space powers were being used. They were all useless in trying to bring down Hansen and his power. They were all cut off via his body. This was like Hansen's Dongxian aura, but it was different. The power of the Dongxian aura was stronger and more absolute. It was not an independent type of aura either. It assimilated with Hansen and became a part of his natural instincts. It hit the scary cause power and destroyed it. When it landed on Hansen, it simply vanished. It was like the wind was suddenly blowing in another direction. Everything came to a standstill. There were no signs to suggest it would be stopped, nor did it struggle. It almost looked as if it was supposed to stop where it was. The eyes of Demon Alpha and the cause element annihilation god spirit almost popped out of their sockets. They could not believe what they were seeing. Such a powerful force of cause power had not even been able to ruffle a single strand of Han Sen's hair. It was just gone. What did you do? Demon Alpha could not believe it and looked at Han Senator. She could not fathom this result. Demon Alpha knew what that power meant. She did not believe someone in the world could ignore the extent of the power she had just unleashed. She did not think Qin Xiu could repel what she wielded either. Now Han Sen easily blocked her full power attack. He had not even asserted a defensive position. Han Sen looked at Demon Alpha and asked, "Should I continue?" Han Sen had been worried that he would not be able to block that utterly crazy attack power. Now he knew for sure that cause power was not able to affect him. The Dongxian aura became the base of his body's power. He could easily control all of the universe's cogwheels and rules. Even a powerful cause power was unable to break his sense of perception. The voice of the Geno tablet played in Han Sen's head. "Your body does have a problem. Even a reboot god spirit's cause power cannot affect your body." "What? Are you saying Demon Alpha was using reboot class cause powers to fight me?" Han Sen almost screamed aloud. If it was not a reboot class being, how could it wipe cause from existence? The Geno tablet replied. The god spirits can reverse cause powers, but they can only use one or two tricks. They never really use it. They can never really control it or change it. Aside from a reboot class god spirit, no god spirit can do what you've just repelled. Of course, when my host becomes the world's new god spirit, they will have that power. Are you sure that is the power of something reboot class? Han Sen asked. I don't think I'd be wrong about something like this, but her reboot class power is not complete, the Geno tablet answered. If it was a complete reboot class cause power, with that strike, the whole of the 33 skies would be wiped from the map. Han Sen's eyes looked sunny and dark. Night God No Moon had told him there were 5 spirits who had reboot class blood, and they all came from the last Geno Hall leader. Azura could not have consumed the current God Hall leader. It was not Bauer, so only 3 possibilities remained. It had to be Tai Yi and King Jun's last life, 2 of Qin Xiu's previous lives, or the last God Hall leader. No matter which of them it was, Han Sen thought the suggested concepts were rather difficult to believe. Back in the day, Azura would have been too weak. Either of those 3 could have killed Azura several times over with but a whiff of their breath. And back then, Azura must have consumed one of them. Again, that did not seem likely nor possible. It should not have been the last God Hall leader. When the last God Hall leader died, Azura and the others were not born at that time. How did the Alpha of the Witch die? I forgot to ask Chaos. The most likely possibility was a remnant of Qin Xiu's life, since he was the one who reincarnated the most. He is the most likely candidate. No. Han Sen was thinking to himself. Because he was so shocked, he continued to revel in his thoughts. Azura said she consumed a god spirit. The Alpha of the Witch was one of the witch. After reincarnating, he would not become a god spirit. Qin Xiu would not reincarnate as a god spirit either. Does that mean Azura consumed the last God Hall leader? That cannot be right. The timing is not right. The last God Hall leader died because of the need to reboot the universe. When he died, Ancient Devil and Azura reincarnated. After being reincarnated for many years, they grew strong enough to kill a god. It could not have been the last God Hall leader. Did Azura make a mistake? Does she believe the reincarnation of Alpha Witch and the reincarnation of Human Alpha, who had a god spirit blood pulse, were actually god spirits? Han Sen's brain was flashing with countless different ideas. He could not think of a final solution. He looked at Demon Alpha, Azura, with conflicted emotions. It all depends on whether or not you are that strong. Demon Alpha was not willing to stop. The god spirit light was frightening. She put her hands together and exploded with a powerful cause power that was sent straight toward Han Senator. The creatures of the world could not see the cause spirit power. They could only see 2 people exchanging dialogue, with neither of the 2 making a move. They were all yelling, "You 2 hurry up and fight. Stop talking. These are the Geno tablet fights. This is not a street fight. Stop chatting." Chapter 34-24. Demon Alpha's secret. The shadow of the god spirit light kept slashing the scary cause power, but it was unable to bring harm to Han. Senator. Many cause powers came before Han Sen, but they immediately vanished. They could not cover his body. Demon Alpha, do you want this to continue? Han Sen kept getting the cause power attack as he spoke to Demon Alpha. Demon Alpha's eyes were consistently full of shock. She could not believe her cause powers were unable to work on Han Sr. There is no need. Demon Alpha looked very calm. The god spirit powers on her were weaker. She looked at Han Sen with a complex look. Can you tell me who that god spirit was now? Han Sen whispered to Demon Alpha. Demon Alpha hesitated. She used a weird skill so that her words were only able to be heard by Han Sr. What if I told you that I do not know who this god spirit was? Would you believe me? Han Sen frowned and looked at Demon Alpha. He did not speak. He did not believe Demon Alpha, but people like Demon Alpha must have had a reason to say something like that. Demon Alpha said, back in the day, Ancient Devil took 8 of us, the generals, with him to summon a god spirit. We summoned a dying god spirit. Even Ancient Devil does not know who that god spirit was. If he did not know, how could we possibly know? Ancient Devil and the rest of us used all sorts of methods, but we were unable to do anything to the dying god spirit. Han Sen nodded. The explanation of events given to him by Demon Alpha, Azura, was the same as the explanation given to him by Ancient Devil. Demon Alpha bore a wry smile and went on to say, you must be curious. If we could not hurt the dying god spirit, how was I able to consume it? Well, that is very simple. That is because it was not that I ate the god spirit. It was more like he chose me. Han Sen looked at Demon Alpha with surprise as he asked, what is that supposed to mean? It means what you just heard me tell you. Ancient Devil and the other generals believed that I ate the god spirit, but they did not know he chose to combine with me above the rest. Demon Alpha saw Han Sen's face, knowing what he was thinking. She shook her head and said, I know what you are thinking. I am still me. The god spirit did not overtake me. The god spirit was very strong. If he wanted to take over my will, I would have been unable to stop him. But he never did. Instead, he gave his powers to me. The power was so strong that I was only ever to use some of it. As I became stronger, I became more and more able to use the power. Recently, I was able to use it perfectly. Aside from this power, do you have anything else? Han Sen found all of this hard to believe. Demon Alpha was stretching the limits of his believability. Even if the god spirit was that nice, he didn't believe a good god spirit was that perfect and unselfish to never plan on bringing harm to Demon Alpha. He gave his power to Demon Alpha to prolong his life. It was obvious he just did not want to die, so he must have left behind some final words. Han Sen would not believe there was nothing more to it all. Demon Alpha said, he left me a message, but his message did not concern anything to do with himself. It was a secret that had something to do with Human Alpha. Demon Alpha hesitated for a moment but proceeded to say, you should know that Qin Xiu was Human Alpha reincarnated. I lost. I cannot fight him before Qin Xiu controls the Geno tablet. I can tell you this secret. If you can defeat Qin Xiu, it will only be a good thing for me too. Han Sen was happy. He did not expect Demon Alpha was connected to all of this. It certainly came as a surprise to him. It made him really curious too. He did not know what kind of secret this was. Demon Alpha was silent a moment before saying to Han Sen, according to my message, Human Alpha does not die. Before he walked that step, there was a small flaw in him. If you can catch that flaw, it might be possible for you to defeat him. Han Sen could not help but ask, what flaw might that be? Demon Alpha's voice was in Han Sen's brain. Human Alpha's genes come from a Reboot god spirit, and the last god Chaos Party leader. The two of their genes did not combine perfectly. If Human Alpha was forced to combine the Geno prototype armor and a Reboot blood pulse, it will have a flaw. If you can catch the flaw, Qin Xiu can be delivered deadly damage. But catching that flaw will be difficult. You will need my cause power for that since this flaw can only be felt. It cannot be spoken. Without my cause power, you will not be able to see the flaw. So this secret is pointless for you to learn. Upon hearing all of this, Han Sen was more and more shocked. It was not because of the flaws Demon Alpha mentioned. It was because by knowing this and wanting to deal with Human Alpha, this could not be Human Alpha reincarnated. Knowing so much about Human Alpha's secrets, the God Spirit that combined with Demon Alpha sounded like the last God Hall leader. If it was that big God, how was he able to be summoned to a low-level sanctuary by Ancient Devil? Han Sen really did not understand this part. Demon Alpha said, I still have a feeling the God Spirit I combined with was just a shell or fragment of its former self. It is not the God Spirit in its entirety. What do you mean by that? Han Sen asked. It is just a feeling. The God Spirit is a spirit body. If he really combined with me, I should be able to get some memory from his soul, but I can't. Demon Alpha smiled. She went on to speak, but this time, her voice was not directly in Han Sen's brain. Everyone was able to hear what she said next. Our discussion ends here. I lost. This is where we say goodbye. I hope I will meet you again one day alive. After that, Demon Alpha left the 33 skies. Holy shit. What was that? They did not fight. This was so fake. I object. This was a fake fight. Hey. You guys should at least pretend to fight. You did not even fight. All you did was wave your hands, and then one of you concedes? That is so unprofessional. Fake. This is so fake. This acting is noob level. There were so many boos after this. People thought it was not a glorious win for Han Senator. Even the races of the Geno universe that adored Han Sen looked weird. They were so perplexed that they could not speak. Han Sen did not care though. The secrets Demon Alpha told him gave him a lot to think about, but there was no way to confirm anything. It was like his heart had been scratched by a cat, and it was incredibly itchy as a result. When Demon Alpha quit, Han Sen progressed to the top 16. He could not, however, leave the 33 skies. He had no choice but to wait until the next fight. He had to win that next fight. He had to keep on fighting. There was no other choice. Chapter 34-25. Sacrificing everything for me. Wang Yuhang's situation was not going to last. His super god spirit body did not do direct damage. All it did was affect the mood of an opponent. He was unable to kill an opponent. The worst thing about it was that in his battleground, there was only him and one other creature. That made his super god spirit body's usefulness rather low, and next to useless. The worst thing about it was that his opponent was a metallic creature, which was very cold. It was rather like a robot, and his super hormone did not work on the metal creature. His bike was very loud. Wang Yuhang was riding his bike fast along a road. The robot-looking metallic creature fired laser beams out of its metal eye sockets. The force of those lasers was so grand that they annihilated the fabric of space. Wang Yuhang kept dodging, left to right. When the laser touched his bike, the steel instantly melted away. There were already a few cuts on the bike by now. The hull of the bike was cut through by this point, exposing the machinery inside. Some parts of the bike were even starting to spark. Damn it! Wang Yuhang lowered his head and dodged a laser that was aiming for his head. He felt coldness come down on his head. He touched it, which resulted in his hair being lasered away. He started to get angry. Before he said anything properly, more of the lasers were coming for him. They tore through the fabric of space. Fuck. I do not believe this. You are a creature. You have emotions. If there are emotions, they should be affected by my super hormone. Wang Yuhang was very angry. He had the urge to fight. His super god spirit body started gunning at its max. The heavy bike lit up with a purple light. The engine started running with purple energy. The whole bike looked like a purple crystal. The exhaust let out a purple mist instead of smoke. Wherever the heavy bike went, a purple mist followed it like a wave and dyed all of space a beautiful purple color. It was like smog when there was too much heavy metal in the air. The giant metal life force was inside that mist. It was like a metallic monster in the mist. It looked like it was there, but it was not actually there. Its eyes flickered, continuously firing out scary lights and lasers. The purple mist did not seem to affect the creature. After meeting the light, it vaporized. It does not matter how you struggle. Just die already. When you become an enemy of the God Chaos Party, your fate is already sealed. How can you not understand that? The metal life force spoke with a cold voice. What it said meant it was a member of the God Chaos Party, and one of Qin Xiu's men. You are such a complete idiot. Wang Yuhang scolded it. He pushed down harder on the accelerator pedal, putting more power into the bike. The bike's engine went faster and faster. The purple mist became darker and darker. The bike went faster and faster. Even so, it was still unable to block the pursuit of the metal life form. In a light that crossed each other, Wang Yuhang carelessly let the back of his bike get hit. Half of the back tire and body were cut off. The rest of the bike and Wang Yuhang fell away. Oh no! Look at what's going on all the way up there. It would appear that little uncle is in danger. Lin Feng and the others were in shock. It is about time for you to die. Therefore, I will send you into the fiery pits of hell. The metal creature's eyes started to fire more lasers. The lasers were like suns, and their luminosity went to strike Wang Yuhang, who had taken a tumble. Wang Yuhang was going to be in the light. His body was veiled by a beautiful purple light. His head had the crown of a queen. He had butterfly wings. His long hair that had been cut off started to grow again. It was a pretty purple. It kept having weird purple light movement like mad. Now Wang Yuhang's whole body was becoming extremely pretty. Yes, only the word pretty could be used to describe him. When Han Sen combined with the Ice Jade Evil Lady, he was still a little young. Wang Yuhang no longer had any young air about him. He was like a seductive queen whose whole body was irresistible. The butterfly wings on his back moved. Wang Yuhang's body stumbled back like a shadow. It dodged the lasers that were like one-hit kill weapons. The seductive body pranced through the air with the whole body unleashing a purple aura. Wang Yuhang looked at the meal life form and asked, Are you willing to sacrifice everything for me? The creatures of the two universes thought Wang Yuhang was mad. Although Wang Yuhang looked very attractive right now, where even all the males were super tempted, it was a strong creature that was a leader. Why would that being give up winning for him? The metal creature coldly said, You are going to die, and you still have the gall to joke around. I confess that this joke is not funny, thus, you can go die. After that, the metal life form's eyes looked really bright. Their glare suggested it wanted to fire more lasers out. The metal life form's eyes, which had just turned bright, did not release any such lights. What is happening? The metal life form shockingly noticed that it was no longer able to control its own body. It could not attack Wang Yuhang. It was like its body was betraying its mind. The metal life form was even more shocked about the fact that its body was slowly approaching Wang Yuhang. The metal life form wished to reclaim control of its metal body, but its body conflicted with its mind. It made it so weird. It tried its best to leave Wang Yuhang, but it could not help itself. It was more than compelled to remain with Wang Yuhang. It was like it had completely come under a spell that it could not resist. What is going on? What have you done? The metal life form felt as if its body was no longer controllable. It walked over to Wang Yuhang. A sky full of countless creatures from both worlds was now in shock. The metal life form kneeled before Wang Yuhang. Its eyes no longer looked cold like before. It was still glowing, but it was not murderous, and it was now utterly powerless. It looks like you are ready to sacrifice everything before me. What are you waiting for? Wang Yuhang was like a queen. He looked at the metal creature with disdain. It was like he was looking at a worthless slave. Everyone else looked on in disbelief. The metal life form's hands were quivering in fear. It grabbed its head and twisted its own metallic skull. It went catcha as it was torn away from the neck. Boom! Boom! The metal life form, clutching its own head, fell to the ground. It died like that. The creatures of the two universes watching the fight were all petrified. They were no longer able to say a word. Wang Yuhang's name was taken forward to the top 16. Wang Yuhang's face and presence returned to normal. He descended on the crumpled corpse of the metallic life form. He did not look happy or proud. If he had been able to choose, he would have preferred never using that power again. It made him feel as if he was no longer a person but a monster. 2. Chapter 34-26. Good relationship with people. Boom. Boom. The 16 battlegrounds had invisible barriers blocking fighters and keeping them contained in their own arenas. After the fight ended, the invisible barriers of the two arenas crumbled away. The winners of the two arenas would then have to keep on fighting to which would reach the top 8. The whole of the Geno tablets fight was like that. No one was given time for a break. When the fights in the two battlegrounds ended, there was a new fight. This process would keep going until one person was left standing. Hansen had to wait around for a while before his invisible barrier came falling down. The place he could not see was no longer blocked though. Who is my second opponent? I hope it is Qin Xiu, Hansen thought. He then looked in the new direction. What he saw there, however, gave him quite a nasty shock. Han Sr., when Wang Yuhang saw Hansen, he was shocked and laughed right after. This is terrible. Hansen went over to Wang Yuhang and gave him a wry smile. The chances of this encounter were not very high, yet they had ended up in competition with each other. Clearly, this was nothing good. This meant one of them would now have to lose. In Space Garden, Lin Feng, Huang Fujing, and the others watched Hansen encounter Wang Yuhang. After they saw this, they were very sad to see it. Since this had happened, there was nothing they could do to change it. Two humans are competing against each other. This is going to be a lot of fun. Which of the pair do you think is stronger? Of course it is Wang Yuhang. That metal leader he brought down only needed 1/2 of a step to max out its break world rate. Yet before Wang Yuhang, it was willing to kneel and kill himself. How scary is that power, huh? That Hansen played tricks in his first fight. The first fight was nothing but a phony. Now that he really has to fight, I bet it is Wang Yuhang who takes him out with the trash. I do not know if Hansen faked his fight, but that Wang Yuhang is very strong. There is no doubt about that. The Tinkin he took out was one of the 4 primary kings of the God Chaos Party. He made it twist its own head off and die. Who in the world can have that effect on anyone? Can anyone else in the universe do such a thing? Most humans in the universe of kingdoms believed Wang Yuhang was stronger than Han Senator. They thought Wang Yuhang would win. The people of the Geno universe did not think of things the same way though. They understood the connection between Hansen and Wang Yuhang a whole lot more. Wang Yuhang has encountered Hansen. Maybe this is a good thing. This can allow Hansen to have a decent break, refresh himself, and get ready for competing in the top 8 fights while he is in the best shape possible. It is a crying shame. Wang Yuhang and Dollar are both so strong. They should not have encountered each other so soon. It is a shame Wang Yuhang encountered him. His powers are so scary and weird, but Mr. Dollar is there now. Out of simple respect, he should let Mr. Dollar win. I think only Mr. Dollar can defeat Qin Xiu. The two universes had a reverse opinion regarding this, and they were all watching the Geno tablet fights. Not many people turned their attention to Qin Xiu's battles. It was not as if they did not want to see Qin Xiu fight. It was just pointless for them to watch Qin Xiu do battle. No one was ever able to block Qin Xiu's palm. In the fight, Wang Yuhang rubbed his face and said, "Okay, I can help you advance to the next stage. I have fulfilled the obligations of my mission, so I leave the rest for you to handle." After Wang Yuhang said that, the universe of kingdoms fell into a state of shock. The Wang Yuhang they all supported was going to concede and throw in the towel. Why is this happening? Wang Yuhang is stronger. Why is he giving Hansen the chance of victory? They are both humans. Do they not believe in survival of the fittest? The stronger one should be the one to advance. It seems Hansen has some good friends. He has been able to encounter people he knows in both of his matches, but without real power, he won't get much further. I do not believe he will encounter another friend out of the top 8. In the 7 kingdoms, many people felt bad for Wang Yuhang. They felt sorry for him. After all, when Wang Yuhang defeated the metal leader, it was such a shocking victory for them to witness. On the flip side, all of the creatures in the Geno universe thought this was meant to be. Dollar was the stronger of the two, and he should have been the one to continue. Wang Yuhang's decision was not surprising in this regard. Don't go. Hansen tugged at Wang Yuhang and said, "There is no rush. Perhaps we should chat for a bit." Chat. The creatures that watched this fight were shocked. They knew something, and they looked weird. In the universe of kingdoms, the nobles who did not like Han Sen were shouting, "This Han Sen is the god of wealth, yet he is so obscene. It is okay for him to let his friend concede, but he wants him to wait around just so he can have a break. He is utterly shameless. He is not just shameless. He is obscene. The last fight was a phony. He did not use any powers, so why must he take a break now? This is obscene." What? Wang Yuhang looked at Han Sen with a fair amount of confusion. In fact, when he fought the metal leader, he had used up a whole lot of his energy. He did not want to fight either. It was good for him to meet Han Senator. It was a nice break for both of them. "Watch Space Garden for me," Han Sen whispered into Wang Yuhang's ear. "I am afraid Qin Xiu has a few tricks up his sleeve." He was not worried about himself. He was worried about his family. "I will not guarantee you it will remain absolutely safe, but if that Qin Xiu does have some tricks left to play, for as long as I live, no harm will come to the people of Space Garden." After some hesitation, Han Sen said, "Okay, I will let you handle all of that. If you cannot do it, tell Little Gold I will let him use his power." "I understand. If it is not necessary to, I will not wake up that guy." Wang Yuhang nodded. He knew that Little Gold's body was weird. When the disaster with the Break World beasts unfolded, Little Gold opened his golden door. Wang Yuhang did not know what lay behind that golden door, but he knew it had to be something scary. The golden door had never been opened completely, yet the Break World beasts were still completely destroyed by Little Gold. Everything within a few thousand miles of the ajar door was completely destroyed. Fortunately, Little Gold lived far away from the base. If he didn't, the base and all the people that occupied it would have been wiped out. Ever since Han Sen told Little Gold, he was not allowed to open the golden door freely. That casual attack of his was far too scary. Little Gold always listened to Han Senator if he was told not to use it. Even if people were going to kill him, he would still not use the golden door. After Han Sen explained, he fell back and said, "Okay, you can leave now. I will let you handle this. Get rid of that asshole Qin Xiu, would you? And bring the black-haired Wanner back." Wang Yuhang patted Han Sen on the shoulder. He then conceded and left the battleground. Many people saw Han Sen level up easily and felt bad about it. That was especially true of the people in the Seven Kingdoms. People there already hated Han Sen, so they were now sounding extra bitter and cold. Chapter 34-27. I can go up. And it is fine. Han Sen could not hear what everyone was saying, but he did not care. After Wang Yuhang conceded, Han Sen thought his fight in the top 8 to reach the top 4 would not start for a while. That was because his first 2 fights had ended blisteringly quickly. The real fights between others probably wouldn't be ending anytime soon. Wang Yuhang had only just left, yet an invisible wall came falling down. Clearly, the fights on the other side already had a victor determined. Is that Qin Xiu? Han Sen was shocked. To be able to enter a fight faster than him. The only one he could think of being able to do that was Qin Xiu. When Han Sen saw the person enter the arena, he was disappointed. He was more disappointed than when he saw Wang Yuhang. His opponent for deciding the victor moving from the top 8 to the top 4 was Ningyu, another friend of his from Space Garden. Ningyu was the sort of person who always maintained a low profile, but he had already beaten 2 powerful sky leaders. He had already reached the top 8, which suggested he was a supremely scary opponent. But not many people knew about him. Not many creatures paid attention to the way he leveled up and advanced. It is another human. Where did that human come from? To be able to reach the top 8 suggests he is quite a scary fellow. Is he going to concede as well? No way. Han Sen's luck cannot be that great. In the universe of kingdoms, people ravenously discussed this new character. They had no clue who Ningyu was. Without the Geno tablet fights, they would never have known who Ningyu was. Han Sen looked at Ningyu and asked, "Ningyu, are you interested in a spar?" Han Sen was actually curious about how strong Ningyu was at this point. Ningyu shook his head. "You and I will fight, but not right now. After you beat Qin Xiu, you and I will fight. When they heard Qin Xiu say that, the people of the universe of kingdoms felt their hearts turn cold. Clearly, Ningyu was going to concede too. Some of the human elites were so jealous that they went crazy. Who is this Hansen? He has won 3 whole fights without fighting. These are the sort of Geno tablet fights even I could take part in. I bet you I would win too. It is all because of the fact he is famous. He is an annihilation class main god. He is the god of wealth. Anyone in their right mind would treat him with respect and cut him some slack. Otherwise, why else would Wang Yuhang and Ningyu happily concede before him? You are right. Who would not want something better for their heirs? Being friends with the god of wealth can give you the chance of inheriting the god of wealth blood. I would do a favor like that for sure. In the universe of kingdoms, there were lots of jealous people. In the Geno universe, different elites of different races had lots of different opinions. They thought Ningyu was right to concede. Hansen knew Ningyu. Despite seeming like a soft person, he was in fact a very proud man. He did not want to fight Hansen this time. Ningyu, who often wore green clothes, left the 33 skies. He conceded, but he still left with a proud look as if he had been a winner. Hansen successfully reached the top 4. He was one of the top 4. Although many nobles in the universe of kingdoms thought Hansen had been playing too many tricks, they could only watch Hansen win, rank up, and be unable to do anything about it. Surprisingly, Qin Xiu did not reach the top 4 yet. He had 2 more matches he had to get through. So Hansen stayed in his arena and waited for the top 4 fighters to be decided on. On the battleground, many race elites watched Qin Xiu keenly. They thought Qin Xiu would be the first person to reach the top 4. Now Qin Xiu had not reached the top 4, which made them all feel strange. As they looked in his direction, what they saw gave them all a shock. A Break World elite could not help but cry aloud. Another human. There are so many humans in the Geno tablet fights. In his top 8 to get to the top 4 battle, Qin Xiu's opponent was a human too. That person's Geno tablet name was Human King. It was those 2 words. When Qin Xiu looked at Human King, he had a strange expression. He did not strike immediately. He stared at Human King and tried to look at something within him. Qin Xiu, we meet again. Human King said hello to Qin Xiu as if he was meeting an old friend after a long period of time. World King God. Qin Xiu frowned and looked at Human King as he spoke. Human King shook his head. You should be able to discern that I am not World King God. Qin Xiu looked into Human King's eyes and asked, in that case, do you mind telling me who you are? Human King remained stoic. He did not seem antagonized by this, so he continued to speak coldly. I am Human King. I am the alpha of the humans of the sanctuaries. I see. World King God used my body to create many interesting things. Qin Xiu squinted his eyes as he peered at Human King. It is interesting, but I am human, Human King said with a smile. Not really, Qin Xiu said. You being human or not does not depend on the genes you have, but whether or not you are here. Human King pointed at his own heart. Qin Xiu looked at Human King coldly. Do you not know where it comes from? Yes, but you gave it up, so now it is mine, Human King said. I let it belong to you, Qin Xiu said. That is why it is yours. What if you were to not allow that? Human King looked at Qin Xiu with interest. Taking it back will not be difficult, Qin Xiu said. You can certainly try. What Human King said declared Qin Xiu as a definitive enemy. He did not fall back. I was going to let you live because of World King God, but it is a shame, Qin Xiu said. He then raised his hands. He tried to grab Human King. That hand was like Berry Path God's hand. It sucked everything in the world. The whole world was in his hands. Human King's body could not block the scary force of suction. He was drawn into Qin Xiu's hands. Qin Xiu was going to do to Human King what he had done to Berry Path God. Just as Human King was going to get sucked into Qin Xiu's hand, his body, which had been minimized, suddenly expanded. It went back to looking like normal. His hand went against Qin Xiu's hand. The 10 fingers on his hands completely stuck to the opposing hand. Next, an even more shocking thing happened. No one thought Human King possessed the power necessary to fight Qin Xiu. When their 2 hands touched each other, The one who shouted was actually Qin Xiu. Qin Xiu's black crystal armor had some white light coming out of it. It was like a lot of silk was coming out of Human King. What is going on? In the Geno hall, God Hall leader stood up with shock. He looked at Human King with confusion. Anyone could tell that Qin Xiu's power was being absorbed by Human King. Normal people could not tell the power contained spirit power. God Hall leader knew that to be sucked by Human King like this, Qin Xiu's body and soul were going to be consumed. Qin Xiu tried to escape Human King's hand. He was strong, but the more power he cast, the more his power was absorbed. It was like Qin Xiu's power now belonged to his opponent. Human King took Qin Xiu's power and became even stronger. I see now. God Hall leader watched this for a while. He then noticed something that surprised him. Chapter 34-28. Scary possibility. God Hall leader. Who is this Human King? Light Goddess asked with shock. He can absorb Qin Xiu's soul and body. It was not only Light Goddess feeling this way. Many of the other Annihilation class main gods were in shock as well. When Qin Xiu faced Human King, he looked defenseless. God Hall leader looked at Human King complicatedly. He eventually said, "There is no need to be so surprised. Human King is basically another Qin Xiu." What makes you say that? Light Goddess was shocked by this. She did not understand what God Hall leader was trying to say. God Hall leader went on to say, back in the day, when Qin Xiu entered the Geno universe, he had the protection of the witch. That is what allowed him to live, persevere, and thrive. He grew up and went on to create Sacred and become its leader. At that time, his power still never reached the heights of what it needed to be. Despite that, he went as far as he was able to. So he gave up his body. He gave his body to the Self-Gene Race World King God. And he put his soul into the God Chaos Party leader's Geno prototype armor. He wanted to control the Geno prototype armor. He wanted to use his power to help his spirit body reboot, and later go on to recover his body. After retreating into thought for a moment, Light Goddess proceeded to ask, "Are you saying that Human King has Qin Xiu's World King God?" In the Geno universe battle, World King God, who had Qin Xiu's body, was slain. Before World King God died, he sent Han Sun and Wanner to the universe of kingdoms. The 33 skies had not opened at that time, but he ripped open a space barrier. Even World King God died for it. Yes, World King God is dead, God Hall leader said. Qin Xiu killed him. But don't forget that the humans in the sanctuaries have World King Gods and Qin Xiu's blood. We know that already, Light Goddess said. It was after the crystallizers destroyed Sacred that they took the gene prototype from Sacred and combined it with their own crystallizer blood. It led to mixed humans being created in the sanctuaries and later populating it. Humans like that have World King Gods and Qin Xiu's blood. Because of the crystallizers testing, it was not the sole result of World King God's work. So, it was all considered an accident. Like Han Sun and the others, having World King Gods and Qin Xiu's blood was weak and unneeded. That sort of blood would not be in Qin Xiu's actual children. I will have to admit that if they were bred naturally, it may not seem as if it is something that you could deem to be possible, God Hall leader said. From what I know about all of this riffraff, the sanctuaries were the original birthplace of what we came to know as Blood Legion. They practiced blood pulse skills to refine their blood pulses through the generations. You saw those Geno arts. In Han Sen's and World King God's fight, that Geno art was what they used. Really? If God Hall leader knows all of this, why did you not put an end to it? Light Goddess looked confused. God Hall leader shook his head. We are God spirits, but we are not gods that know all. I knew about the existence of the Blood Pulse Sutra, but the Blood Pulse Sutra I saw was only able to refine World King God's blood. After many generations, Qin Xiu's genes have become thin. I never thought this Human King was still around. That was way too hard for my imagination to handle. He refined World King God's blood to the max. I do not know what he used to accomplish that, but he reversed Qin Xiu's genes. In that case, this Human King is a combination of World King God and Qin Xiu. Light Goddess said with a frown. Even so, he should not be able to defeat Qin Xiu. After all, Qin Xiu has the Geno prototype armor and reached Reboot class. That is not something Qin Xiu and World King God can do. God Hall leader looked at Human King strangely. That is what is so scary about Human King. He made his body possess the genes of World King God and Qin Xiu. He also did something scary to his body. After pausing, God Hall leader went on to say, if ordinary people had Human King's body now, they would just produce another Qin Xiu. But this person used the flaws in Qin Xiu's genes. He identified what the wretched things were, and exploited them all for his own gain. It is because of this that he was able to take advantage of the flaws, and use them to consume Qin Xiu's soul and body. How has he done something like that? Light Goddess did not understand. It is very simple, God Hall leader said. His body is Qin Xiu's body. In this world, no other person has a body that is similar to Human King and Qin Xiu. Qin Xiu gave up his body. He adopted a spirit body and entered the Geno prototype armor. Although he has reached Reboot class, he has not been able to use his reboot powers to get his body back. But that is just a product of the rebooting powers. It is not like his original body. Are you saying that the soul meter of Qin Xiu's current body is not as good as the one in Human King's body? Light Goddess asked. So Human King just needs to touch Qin Xiu's body, and Qin Xiu's soul will feel his body. The soul will then be attracted to Human King's body. Yes, that is precisely right, God Hall leader said with a sigh. Only Human King can do something like this. His body is closer to the real Qin Xiu. So the prototype armor will think he is the proper Qin Xiu. It will not help the real Qin Xiu attack him. Thus, Qin Xiu cannot do anything against Human King. He is only allowing his soul to be taken by Human King. This Human King is smart. His blood pulse sutra can consume the blood of someone. If this is to continue, it will not only be the soul but also the body he has just gotten will be consumed by Human King. Isn't that a good thing though? Light Goddess asked. If Qin Xiu is absorbed by Human King, Qin Xiu will be dead. If he is dead, we do not have to worry about Qin Xiu rebooting the whole universe. Maybe. God Hall leader did not agree with Light Goddess. Moment God, who was on the side, said, maybe not. This Human King has always had scary powers, but he never outright shows them. He never truly has. After all these years, he has finally been able to come face to face with Qin Xiu. In an instant, he has been able to take everything. He has waited an awfully long amount of time for this reward. He has been very patient. That virtue has now bestowed upon him a great reward. I reckon this Human King is scarier than Qin Xiu. We don't even know what his ultimate goal is. What if his aim is crazier than Qin Xiu's? When Light Goddess heard all this, she looked at God Hall leader. She asked, Mr. Leader, is that what you are worried about? God Hall leader said, this is not what I am worried about. I am merely worried. Light Goddess spoke faster than her heart and asked, what are you worrying about? God Hall leader said, Mr. God rebooted the Blood Pulse and God Chaos Party leader's Geno prototype armor. These two items are things with an extreme amount of power. Qin Xiu was used by Mr. God and the God Chaos Party leader. That was how he combined them, but it was never perfect. There was always still a flaw. I am worried that if Human King absorbs Qin Xiu's body and soul. God Hall leader stopped speaking, but all the God spirits knew what he meant. When they thought about the consequences, they felt a chill run down their spines. Chapter 34-29. New opponent. If Human King succeeded, it would be fine. If Qin Xiu took over Human King's body and combined with him, he would be able to repair the flaws in his genes. The consequences of that happening would be so frightening that even the God spirits would be quaking in their boots. If Qin Xiu comes back from the brink to eat Human King, even if Bauer successfully combines with the gene seed, the chance of her being able to beat Qin Xiu would shrink to a mere 50. God Hall leader said. That means it is all down to the luck that governs the flip of a coin. But it does not matter what her fighting experience is. There is absolutely no chance her fighting experience can match Qin Xiu. Her chance of winning will be considerably lower. If I knew Human King was someone like this, I would have made the effort to kill him sooner, Moment God madly said. Light Goddess displayed a wry smile. Human King has been in hiding for many years. We were unable to see anything. With the intelligence he has, it would have been hard for us to kill him even if we wanted to. It is pointless to keep thinking about it now, God Hall leader said. Let's just wait for the results, shall we? No matter which one of them wins, we are going to have to ready ourselves to fight. Even if Human King wins, it will not be a good thing for us. The god spirits knew what he meant. If Qin Xiu won, the ending would be glum. But no one knew what Human King ultimately wanted either. Human King winning might result in things faring even worse for everyone. Yes, Master. All of the god spirits agreed. In the 33 skies, Qin Xiu's and Human King's fingers were touching each other. Qin Xiu's body had a spirit light spilling out of him. A lot of white mist was going for Human King. There was some red in between it all though. It was like blood. Human King's body absorbed Qin Xiu's soul. It had some weird changes. Human King's body was blue. He absorbed a red and white light. His blood turned from blue to red. His skin had a white light. The members of Blood Legion had blue blood and could not refine or practice Geno arts. All they could use was their blue blood power. That was what they used to fight. The blue blood power came from World King God. In the Geno universe, it was restricted by the rules of the universe. Now the blue blood was turning red. It looked like it was showing Human King's blood going into Qin Xiu. Not long later, the blood that turned red did not actually turn red. It became purple. It was a mysterious sort of purple color. More and more power became absorbed by Human King. Human King's power became more crystallized as time went by until he looked almost completely like a purple crystal. His black hair and black pupils started to turn purple. That purple was similar to Azura's sort of purple, but it was different. It made people feel more scared. When they saw the purple light, even the many god spirits of the Geno Hall became incredibly scared. Perhaps Human King winning will not be a good thing. Some god spirits were starting to worry. The two universes were in shock. It did not matter if the spectators were in the Geno universe or universe of kingdoms. None of them could believe their eyes. They could not believe Qin Xiu was falling under the control of a nameless person. It really did look as if he was losing. God, this is sacred leader. Will he really lose to a nameless soldier? A scary creature from the Geno universe spoke. Qin Xiu will not lose, will he? Many human elites of the universe of kingdoms were confused. They still had hope. They could not accept the concept of Qin Xiu actually losing. That was because this was Qin Xiu. He was the greatest existence out of all the 7 kingdoms. Out of the countless years the universe of kingdoms had existed, only the Wu Wei Dao Palace could bring about someone so great. The people of the universe of kingdoms could not believe he would lose. No matter how much Qin Xiu exploded with power, he could not get rid of Human King. His power was absorbed by Human King. Over time, his resistance became weaker and weaker. Ketcha. The black crystal armor helmet fell. It looked as if it had lost all of its support. The black crystal armor was no longer straight and stoic looking. It looked like an empty shell. The two lights, a red light and a white light, were looking exceedingly dim. They were floating into Human King. Now Human King's body was surrounded by a purple light. He was like a demon god that had descended on the earth. His eyes seemed calm, but it looked as if he disdained everything. It looked as if he expected the whole world to bow before him. He looked at him with contempt. Eventually, the black crystal armor no longer had any of that red or white coming out of it. Human King did not let go of the black crystal armor's gauntlet. He pulled it, and the black crystal armor headed his way. The whole set of armor disintegrated. Every part of it opened up by itself to wrap up Human King. Suddenly, Human King became a shape that wrapped up the black crystal armor. But it was different to Qin Xiu. His face was no longer covered. He still had a purple mist light of long hair that led all the way outside. Is this person Qin Xiu or Human King? Light Goddess felt as if she could no longer take the manic pounding of her heart anymore. She had been a god spirit for so long that she had almost forgotten what nervous and confused feelings were supposed to feel like. Countless spirits in the main and reverse universes were just staring at the Geno tablet. They wanted to know what would happen next. The Geno tablet was displaying Qin Xiu's and Human King's names. Suddenly, one of the names went out. It was Qin Xiu's name that went out. Only Human King's name remained, and it did so while shining. How is that possible? The God Chaos Party was shocked. It did not matter if it was the new members or the old members, and it did not matter if they betrayed Qin Xiu or not. They were still all shocked. When Qin Xiu became the leader of the God Chaos Party, his incredible power was enough to tell them who was the strongest amidst their ranks. Now that invincible existence had lost a battle. He had lost to a person they had never heard of before. There is only Human King's world, Human King coldly said. Many of the world's countless creatures did not understand the words he had just spoken. Still, everyone caught the gist of them. It meant a new era was coming. Blood Legion was delighted by the result. Many members of Blood Legion were crying their eyes out in glee. They had endured for many generations, with every generation giving their blood to Human King. Countless generations of people had paid with their blood. On this day, there was finally a response. Human King had just shocked the entire world. He had obtained Qin Xiu's body and soul. From now on, he was to be considered the most invincible being in the universe, and Blood Legion was going to be regarded as the greatest organization in the universe too. They were the foundation of a new Genesis. They would be a cornerstone of the entire universe. Han Sun was in the arena. He did not watch Qin Xiu and Human King fight. He did not know the person he needed to fight had been beaten by Human King. Boom. Boom. Han Sun had been waiting there for a long time before the invisible barrier finally fell. That meant his new opponent had arrived. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.